Hello friends, welcome back to Smart Coder. We are back with a video, and today video we will learn how we can make the chat application in our Flutter and by using the NodeJs API. So this application will going to have a feature like real-time messaging with the help of the Socket.io. Then we have the cross-platform with the Android, iOS and the web, and we have the message status tracking of send, deliver or read. And then we have the feature of the typing indicator, which will show when the user is typing. Also we have the feature for the online status. With the help of that we can track the user online or offline status with last seen timestamp, and whole this application will be on the basis of the event based architecture and all. So this is our application, and here we have the option for the register and the login. And when we click on the register, we have the option for name, email ID, password. Then we have the option for the register now, and if the user already logged in, we will click on the login, and from here we will just log into the device. We will log in here, snippet coder, password 123, password 123, and we click on the login here. You can see here when we logged in here, there we are going to have the all the usernames here, and then here we have the chat room, but whenever we chat with anyone, that will display here. And in the same way we'll log into the different device also. Here we are going to log in with Rajat, password 123, we click login here. So now here you will see here the direct message will show the username which are registered in our system, and here it will not show the logged in user. Same here. And now if I going to click on the snippet code in the device 2, which is login here, it will show here login because the application is running here. So now if I send a message here, if I put here test1 and if I press here send, you can see here the message came here immediately. It will also show the message count here. In the same way, if I send another message like second message, and if I click on the send here, you can see here the count will be come to the 2, and it will display here the last message which came here. And you can see here it is showing the double tick here, that means the message deliver here, but it is not showing the blue tick because the message not yet read. So now if I click here, if I go to that user chat room, you will see here the status has been changed here to blue tick. So in the same way, if I type here something, so you can see here in the top Rajesh is typing, so that means it will also show the typing indicator also. So when we stop typing, it will not show anything. When we restart typing, you can see here it is again showing here. When we stop typing, it will not show. So in the same way, if I press here send, you will see here message coming here with the timestamp also, and immediately it is converted to the read status because the message read here. So in the same way, if I send message from here test, and here it is also showing the snippet code is typing here. So now if I press enter here, you can see immediately message coming here. And the same way, if I go back and if I type any message new and if press enter, you will see here message also came here, the new message from the Rajat. We have the option for open here. So before starting a video, if you are new to our channel, subscribe our channel by clicking the subscribe button and click the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. So first of all, we have to create a backend for our application, and for that we are going to use the NodeJs. And we open the terminal here and we initialize the project here, npm initialize. It will create the NodeJs project here. It will ask for the package name, and here we will press yes. So now here you can see in the package.json file is created here. So now we are going to use some of the packages, and we will put here those packages. So we are going to use first package is the bcrypt.js, that will be used for encrypting our password. Then we are going to use the body parser for our API. Then we are going to use the course. Then we are going to use the dot environment, that will be used for the environment file and all. Then we are going to use the express server for starting our server. Then we are also using the JSON web token, that token will be used for communicating with the authentication barrier token with our chat application. Then also we are going to use the Mongoose, we are going to use the MongoDB, and also we are going to use the Socket.io. And here we have to put one entry, that will be type. We are going to use the module because we are going to use the TypeScript way EC5. So for that purpose we have to put here type module. So now first of all we have to create the environment file. We will put here env And here we are going to use three variables. First one is the port number. We are going to use the API on the port number 3000. Then we have to put here the MongoDB UI. Then we are going to use the JWT secret key. We can put here any secret key that will be used for encrypting our token and all. So after that, we have to create one folder here. We will name it as a config. And inside that, we will create one file that will be db.script, and that will be used for our DB connection and all. Here we will first import Mongoose. And before that, we have to just install our packages. We will put here npm install. It will install all the package here. You can see here node_modules. Those packages has been added here. So now we will do here import Mongoose from Mongoose. Also we will import here our environment file for accessing our MongoDB path. We will put here import .environment/config. Here we will write the method that will be used for connecting a DB. We will put here export constant connect DB is equal to async. Inside that we will put here try catch. Here we have the error. And inside the try we will put here await mongoose dot, and we will pick the path here that will come from the process dot environment, and we will pick the name from here. Name is MongoDB_URI. We will put here. After that we will make these variable use new URL parser true, use unified topology, and after that we will write here console.log, and we'll put here MongoDB connected, and the error we will put here console.log error.message. If there will be any error, we will put here process exit. Now we will create our server file also. We'll put here server.js, and inside the package.json we can change it to server. Here first of all we will import here express from express. Then we have to import here create server from http. Then we have to import our connect db that will be come from our config.db file. And here first of all we will connect our db here. We will put here connect db. After that we will create the object for constant app is equal to express for starting our express server. Now we can set our parsing and all. We will put here app.use express.json. If we not put this line, then our JSON API will not work. And this create server we will do later on when we do our integration with our socket.io and all. And here we will just start our server for testing. We'll put here app.listen process.environment. We can see the name here. It is port in the uppercase. And if this not found, we will pick the default port that will be 3000. Then here we have the function, and here we will write console.log server started. So now let's just run the application and see our database getting connected or not. We will put here node.js. So here we are getting some error here, and here we have to put the db.js file. Now you can see server started, and here it is coming MongoDB connected. That means our MongoDB is getting connected. So now let's move further and we will create our APIs. And first of all we will create with our authentication API, and then later on we will move to our chat API. And here we have to create the folder that will be models. Inside that we will create one new file that will be user.js file. And here first of all we have to import here mongoose from mongoose. Then we have our import bcrypt from js. So here we have to create the schema, and we will write here constant user schema is equal to new mongoose dot schema. And inside that we are going to have only three fields. First one will be our username, and type we are going to make it as a, and we will make it as a required field here, and we will make it as a unique also. Then we have our password field. Type will be string or required. Then we have our another field that will be last seen, that will be used to store the last seen of the user. So suppose if you are online, it will save your last time when you are online. Then on the basis of that it will display to the other user. And the type will be date, and default it will be date.now. So here we have to put the pre method for before saving, so that whenever any save command will be execute, then before saving it will do some of the logic handling and all, business logic and all. And here we are going to put a user schema dot pre save, and we will put here async function next. Inside that we will check here this dot is modified password. Then what we will do, we will just encrypt our password here. We'll put here this dot password is equal to await bcrypt hash this dot password, and we will put some random number for generating the hash for our password. We will put here 12, and after that we will put here next, so that after doing this one it will move to the next command. Then here we will also make one method that will be password for checking if the password is correct or not. We put here user schema dot methods dot correct password is equal to async function, and here we will put candidate password. These will be the variable names, user password. It will just compare it and return us if the password is correct or not. It will be, this method will be used like when we put the password in the login, and then it will check from our database, and by checking the password is correct or not, it will return to us. I will write here return await bcrypt compare candidate password and the password that will be come from the database. So instead of doing all this business logic in the controller, we can also handle here in the schema itself also. And then we will export here, export default mongoose dot model user schema. So what we did here is we have created a schema, user schema with the username, password, last seen. Then we created the method, pre-method before saving, and that will be used to encrypt our password. And then we created the method for checking if the password is correct or not, and then we export from here. So now we will create one folder for the services. We will put here services. Inside that we will create here auth service.js, and here we are going to create two functions. One is for the registration and the second one is for the login. And first of all we have to import here our model file user from /model/user.js. Then we have to import here mongoose from mongoose. Now here we will write export constant register is equal to async function, and we have to pass here username, password, and first we will check here if the password dot length is less than 8. We will return the error message here, error password must be at least 8 characters. Then here we will put here try, and here we have the catch, here we have the error. In the try we will write a constant user is equal to await user create, and we will just pass the username and password. So you have to make sure these name will be same as your model file. Like here you can see username and password. So here we are doing, so here we have to change it to lowercase. So now both are same, and after that we will return here user ID user dot underscore ID. So it will return us the user ID. In the catch we can check here if we are getting the error code is equal to 11,000. So that will be our duplicate error. That means the username already exists. And from here we will just return here error username already taken. And in journal we will just return here error failed to register. So what we did here, we have just created one function that will be register, and there we are passing username password, and then we are checking here if the password length is less than 8, then we will give the error message password must be at least 8 characters. Then in the try catch we are just calling user.create by passing the variable name, and then we are returning here the user ID, that database ID which is created. And the catch we are just checking here if the error code is 11,000, that means the username already taken, and by default we are just returning a failed to register. So now we will create another method. We can just copy this one also and we will paste here. We will change it to login. We can remove this validation from here And what we will do, we will just change it to here. We will change it to user.find1, and we will just pass the username here. Then we will check here if not of user, that means user not found. Then here we will just throw new error user not found. After that we will check here is match. You have to check the whatever the password user is sending and whatever the password which is stored in the database are matching both or not. And for that we will just use here await user dot. We have to use this variable user dot, and we have to pick this method which we have created here, correct password dot correct password, and we have to pass here password, whatever the password we are passing to user. And here we have to put user dot password from the database. And here we will check if not of match. If not of is match, then we will return here throw new error invalid password, and in the by default we will return here token JWT sign, and we have to pass a user ID. This user ID we will put inside our token, and we can pick our secret key from our process.environment.jwt secret. And here also we have to import JWT from JSON web token, and here we can put the expiry date for the token also. We will write here expired in, and we can put here 10 days. Along with token we are just passing the user ID also. And here we don't need this checking, we will just remove here. And here we will just do the console.log. We will log the error message, and from here we will just return null. So what we did here, we have created a function that is login, and that there we are just checking the user is exist or not in our database by passing the username. And then we are checking if not found, then we will throw the error that is user not found. After that we are just checking the password is correct or not by using the correct password method which we have created in the schema by passing our password and the user password. Then we are just checking if that match or not. If it not match, then we will return here error message with the invalid password. Else we are just returning here token and the user ID here. So now let's move further, and we will create our controller file. Here we will create our controller folder. We will write a controller. Inside that we will create here user controller.js file, and from here we have to import our methods from our API service, from our service file register and login.js. And here we have export constant register user is equal to async request response. Here we have to pick the variables from our body. We have username password is equal to request.body. We have to pick these variable from the request body. Then we have to write a try catch try, then we have the catch here error, and here in the try we will put a constant user is equal to await register. We have to pass a username password. From here we will return response.status 201.json, and we will pass the response, whatever the response we are getting from the service. Catch we will return here return response.status 500.json. Message we have error registering user. Then we have to do the same for the login also. We will copy this one, we will paste here, and here we will change it to login. Here both the field will be same. We will change the method here login, and in the response we will check if not of response. We will return here status 401 and JSON. We will pass the message here login, and by default we will just return here status 200. JSON we will return here this response, and here in the error we will return here login error. So what we did here, we have created the function with the login user, and there we have the variable username password from the request body. Then we have the try catch. Inside that we have the response coming from the function login, and there we are passing username and password. Then we are just checking here if response is not valid, not true. Then we will return here 401, else we will return here 200 response, whatever the response we are getting. In the error, we are just returning here 500 status code with message login error. So now we have to create the routes folder. We will put here routes. Inside that we have to create one file that will be user routes.js file. Now here first of all we have to import here express from express. Then we have to import here register user login user. That will be come from our user controller. So now we have to create the variable object for our router is equal to express dot router. Now here we have to create the router with the route. First one we have the post request. There we have the /register and we will map with our register user API. That then we have to put here login. That will be mapped with our login user method. And from here we will just export here default router. So what we are doing here, we are just creating the router path and all. We are creating the variable for the router by initializing our express.router. Then we are just making two post requests. First one is for the register, then the login, and then we are exporting the router here. So now we have to map this router in our server file, and here we will just put here app.use/API/users. We will map it with our user routes, and this route we have to import here, import user routes from /routes/user routes. So now let's see the server log. We are getting some error here, new mongoose.schema. So now let's see. So here we have to put the caps. Now we are getting here error message for invalid schema configuration. Here it is typo mistake. We will put a type. Now you can see here server started, MongoDB connected. So now let's test this API in our Postman also. So here we have two APIs. First one is the register user and the login user. First of all, we will register here and we will see is it working or not. We will change the username to test user and password will be password123. And before doing that, we will reduce our length here and we will see the validations coming or not. We will press the send here. You can see password must be at least 8 characters. That means our API is connecting perfectly fine and we are also getting the validation. So now we can also check with the existing user also. We have already this user snippet coder and we will press the send here. Before that we will get the password error first and we will change it to password123. Now we will press the send again. You can see username already taken. So now we will change the user to test user and we will press here send. You can see we are getting a user ID, this one. That means our API is working fine and the new user is already created here. So now we can test the same in our login API also. We will just put the username here which we have created, test user. First we will change the password to different and see we are getting invalid user name or not. Now we will see we are getting failed user or not. You can see login failed because we put the invalid password here. We'll just put here 3 and we will press the send here. Again we are getting the error here. So now let's see here it is saying password is not defined. So now let's go to the service. We have this authentication service. So in the user model you can see the issue, like here we are having the variable name as a user password, but here we are passing password. So we will change it to this user password and we will save here. So again we will go to the Postman. Now we will click again on the send. Now you can see we are getting the token here and the user ID which we have returned from our API. So that means our both the API register and login API both are working. So now we are going to create the API for our chat message and all. So first of all we have to go to the model folder and there we have to create a new model that will be message.js. And here first of all we have to import here mongoose from mongoose. Then here we have to write constant message schema is equal to new mongoose.schema. Then here we have to create the variables. First one will be our chat room ID. Chat room ID is basically a unique ID to identify the chat between the sender and the receiver, so that on the basis of that we can understand this user is chatting with this user, one-to-one chat, or we can use the same for the multiple group chatting also. That will be used as a unique ID. So we will name the variable as a chat room ID, and we are having a type here string required true. Then we have to make the index true so that we can have a better query performance and all. So this chat room ID, we will create one small utility function for creating it. It will be very simple. It will be sender underscore the receiver ID. Then we have the message ID that will also be type as a string required true, unique true, and index. Then we have the sender here that will be type as mongoose dot schema dot types dot object ID. Reference we will going to give with the user table. Then we have the required true. Then we have the index. Same we will do for the receiver also. We will copy and we will paste here. We'll put here receiver, and after that we have the variable for the message here. We will paste this one and we will put here message. Type will be, and we will make it as a required here only, and this reference is not required. After that we have to make the variable for the status, message status. It will be either sent, delivered, or read, and here we will make the type as a, and we will make the one enum from here, sent, deliver, and read. Default value we are going to put as a sent. Whenever any message will be sent, the status will be come as a sent here. For this one also we'll make the index true for making our query faster. Then we have the created at, and here we have the type date. Then we have the default date dot now. Then we have the index here. Now we will do the compound index also. Compound index will be like for on the basis of the two fields, and here we will write message schema dot index, and here we have the chat room ID 1. Then we have the created at minus. First it will do the index for the chat room ID, then in the descending order for the created at. Then we have the message schema dot index receiver 1 status. Now from here we will export default mongoose model. Name of the model will be message, and here we will pass our schema message schema. So what we did here, we have created one schema for the messages, and here we have the chat room ID, message ID, then we have the sender ID, receiver ID, then we have our message here. After that we are having a status that will be having a enum for the sent, delivered, or read, and default value will be our sent. Then we have our created at. After that we are creating the compound index for common queries, and that will be on the basis of the chat room ID and the created at, and we have the receiver and the status. Then we are just exporting our model here. So now we have to create one small util file. We'll get the folder here, utils. Inside that we will write here chat helper.js, and from here we will just export here, export constant room ID, and this room ID will be on the basis of the sender and the receiver. We will put here user 1 and user 2. What it will do, it will return us the user 1 and user, it will do the sort, and it will do the join here on the basis of underscore. So basically this function get room ID create a unique identifier room ID for the chat room or the conversation between the two user. Suppose here if we call this method get room ID, and here we will pass user A, and here we will pass user B. So what it will return us to user A underscore user B. And now if we do like this way, get room ID user B, then here we have the user A as a, so basically user A will be as a sender and here user B as a receiver. In the different case we have the user B as a sender and the user A as a receiver. In that case also this chat ID will return us user A underscore user B. For that purpose we are using this function that will do the sorting and all, and make the join here. So this will also ensure that the same conversation room is always identified by the same string, preventing the duplicate room between the same users. So now let's move further. So now what we will do, we will create one service file and we will name it as a chat services.js file. First method, we have to create here export constant create message that will be used for sending message and all. Async message data. Here we are going to use the try catch error. Inside the try, we are going to create the instance for our message here with the data, whatever the data coming from our application, and here we will write constant message is equal to new message. Then we have to create the object here. Inside this object, we have to pass whatever the field is coming from the message data, and we will map with our this message object. And here also we have to import message from /model/message.js file. Now here first variable is our chat room ID, and we will map it with our message data dot room ID. Then we have the message ID. We will map with our message dot data dot message ID. Then we have the sender here. We will map with our message data dot sender. Then we have the receiver here. We'll map the same with the message data dot receiver. Then we have our message here. We will map with our message data dot message. Then we have the status here. We will map with our message data dot status, and if no status coming, we will take the default one as a send. After that, we will do the await here, and we will save the message here, message dot save, and from here we will return message object. So what we did here, we have created a function create message, and we are passing the variable message data, the data which is coming from our application to our NodeJs API. And in that we are getting the room ID, message ID, sender detail, receiver detail, message, then our status here. After that we will return here after saving it, and in the catch we will just throw our error here, throw error. After that we have to create one more function, and that function will be used for fetching the chat messages from our DB to our application. And here we have the export constant chat messages is equal to async. Here we have to pass some of the variables. First one will be our current user ID, so that will be the ID on the basis of the token. Then we have the sender ID, then we have the receiver ID, then we have our page is equal to 1, limit is equal to 20. First we have to get the room ID. What we will do, constant room ID is equal to get room ID, and we will pass here sender ID. Then we have the receiver ID, and here in the query we will pass here chat room ID, and we will map with this ID. So on the basis of this room ID, it will return all the messages from the server, and this get room ID we are getting from our chat helper that is coming here. We will just put here .js, and after that we have to put a try catch error. Now inside the try we will check here. So now here we have to check one condition, like when any user is calling this API, first we will check if that user having any undelivered messages. Suppose if user A send message to user B, but user B is not online that time, in that case user B when come to the online and call this API, then on the basis of the undelivered messages we will update the status for those messages and all. And first we will check here if current user ID is equal to receiver ID, and here we will auto mark the undelivered message as deliver when the current user is the receiver. And here we will write constant undelivery query is equal to chat room ID or room ID, and here we have the receiver. We will map with our mongoose dot types dot object ID, and we will pass here current ID. Then we have the sender, we'll pass the same this mongoose, and here we will pass here sender ID, and where the status is sent. So here basically what we are doing is we are just doing the auto mark undelivered messages as a deliver when the current user is the receiver. Suppose user A send a message to the user B, but at that time user B is not online. When the user B come online and they call this API, we will check all the messages which is sent in the status of the sent but not in the delivery. Then we will mark those messages as a deliver. After this, we have to just create one variable, constant undelivered update is equal to await message dot update many undelivery query we will pass here, and we will set the status is delivered, and here we will check if undelivery update dot modification count is more than 0, and we will just put the logs here so that we know that console dot logs updated undeliver update dot modify count messages delivered status. Now after this one, we have to, here we have the constant messages is equal to await message dot aggregate. First we have the match, we have to find the messages on the basis of the chat room ID, and here we have our query. This is our query here. After that we will do the sort here. We will write here $sort, and we are going to sort on the basis of the created -1. So this will sort newest to the oldest. After that we are going to do the pagination, and we will put a skip page -1 into limit. So this will skip for the pagination, and then here we have to put the limit also. Here we have limit, we'll pass the limit variable here. After that we have to add one field here, and so that field will be used as a bool value, and that will be for like if you are a sender or the receiver for that particular message. For that purpose we will use that variable. Here we have to add $add fields. Here the field name is mine, so it will give true or false on the basis of that, like if the message is sent by that current user or not, so that we can display the UI according to that. Here we have to write $equal to $sender $to object ID, and we have to pass a current user ID. So this flag will be for message sent by the current user. After that we have to return here messages dot reverse. So this will return us the message in the oldest to the newest one, and here we will write through new error failed to retrieve messages. So what we did here, we have created one function fetch chat messages, and there we have the parameter current user ID, sender ID, receiver ID, page limit. After that we are creating the variable for the room ID. Then we have the variable for the query. On the basis of the room ID we are fetching the messages, and then we are just checking here. We are just doing the auto mark undelivered messages as a deliver when the current user is the receiver. And after that we are just doing the query for our messages on the basis of the chat room ID. Then we are doing the sorting, skip and the limit, and there also we have added one flag that is mine, and that flag is for the messages sent by the current user. And then we are just doing the return for the message dot reverse, and the catch we are just doing the fail to retrieve messages. So now we have to create few more methods, and another method will be our update message status. So with the help of that we are going to update the status for that the message. And here we have the export constant update message status is equal to async, and here we will pass message ID or status. And from here we are going to use try catch error. Here we have the try. We are going to make one variable message is equal to await message dot find one and update, and here we have the message ID status. Whatever the status we pass from this method we are going to update here, and here we will write new, so it will return the response in the new updated response, and from here we will return message. So what we did here, we have created one function update message status that will be used for updating the status for the message by passing two variables, message ID, status, and here we have the new true. So whatever the response we are getting from this function will be returned as a new updated response, and in the error we will just throw the error. So now we have to create another method. We will just copy this one, we will paste here, and here we have the method name as a undelivered messages. Here we have to pass user ID, and we have the partner ID. Now here we will change it to message.find, and this receiver ID we are going to change it with our user ID, and sender ID will be our partner ID. So here the user will be the receiver and the partner will be the sender, and here the status will be our sent, and we will do the sorting here. We will sort on the basis of the created at 1, and from here we will return message, and from here we will throw error. Same way we have to update the user last seen also. We will just copy this one and we will paste here. We will change the method to update user last seen. Here we have the user ID and then we have the last seen here, and this method will be used for updating the user last seen, like if user is last login on 10 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, like this way. Find it from our user model. Here we have the user, find one and update. Here we have to just pass our user ID, then we have to update here last seen, and from here return user, and here we have to import our user model also. Here we have user. So the next method we are going to create will be our message as a deliver, and that will be used to update all the undelivered messages from our partner to user to deliver status. And for this one also we'll just copy this one and we will paste here, and we will change the name as a mark as message as delivered. Here we have the user ID and the partner ID. Here we have constant result is equal to await message dot update many, and here we have to make the receiver ID as a user ID, object ID. Then we have the sender, and we are using an object ID map with our partner ID, and where the status is sent. This will only pick those records where the receiver ID is this user ID and the sender ID is this partner ID, and the status is equal to sent. And after that we will just set our data and we will put here status delivered, and from here we will just return our result dot modified. In the error we will just throw error. So what we did here, we are just creating one function to update our all undelivered message from partner to user to the status of deliver status. So now we have to create one more method that will be used to mark message as a read. Here we will just copy this one, we will paste here, and we will change it to mark message as a read, and here we have to change status to sent or delivered, and this one we will change it to read. Rest everything will be same. So what we are checking here, we are just checking if the message having a status of the sent or the deliver, then we will mark them as a read. So we have to create few more methods. So the next one we will just copy this one. Next method will be get user last seen. So what it will do, this method will return us the user last seen timestamp, and from here we will just remove this function. Here we are going to have only user ID, and here we have the constant user is equal to await user dot find by ID, and we have to pass this user ID dot select, and we have to only select one field, that is last seen. Here we will check if not of user, we will return null, else we will return here user dot last seen. So from here we will return, first we will check if user having any last seen, then we will return here user dot last seen dot ISO string, else we will return here. So we will return here last seen as a ISO string if it exists, otherwise we will return null here. Same we have to do for the user status also. We will copy this one and we will paste here. We will change the method to get user online status, and from here we will put semicolon. So here in the user model we have to create one more field. That field name will be the is online, type will be boolean, and default it will be false. So from here we will return is online and the last seen, and from here if this user is not found we will just return here is online as a false and last seen as a null here, else we will return here is online user dot is online, default value will be false, and last seen user dot last seen. Same condition we have to put this one, So what we are doing here, we are doing the same which we did in the last method, that is get user last seen. Here we are doing the similar thing, get user online status, and here we are going to get the status of that user by passing the user ID, and the two fields we are getting is online and the last seen. If it is null, we are just returning false and the last seen as a null. Else we are returning here online and last seen details and all. So now we will create last method here for getting the chat room. So now we will create our last method in our chat service, and here the name of the method is chat room, and that will return us the users with whom we did the chat, and it will also return the username and the last message we did. Here we have the export constant chat room is equal to async. We will pass here user ID. Here we have the try catch error. Here we will create one variable user object ID, and we will write here new object ID, and we'll pass this user ID. Here we will create the query here constant private chat query is equal to. Here we have to write the OR operator. So here in this API we have to understand two things. First one is like if I am a sender or I am a receiver. So in that case we have to use here as a OR operator. We will first make this sender as this user object ID, and in the same way we will do for the receiver also, and we'll pass this user object ID. So this will find the chat where the user is sender or the receiver. Now we have to make the aggregate function. Here we have constant private chats is equal to await message dot aggregate, and this function will return us the latest message and the unread counts. Here we have the match private chat query. Then we have to do the sorting here. Sort we are going to do with our created at in the newest first. Then we have to do the grouping here. Here we have group, and we have to create the object here with the ID. We will put some conditions here, and the condition will be, so here basically we are going to do the group operation with the conditional statement by checking whether the message sender is the current user, and based on that we will just do check if the sender is not the current user. Then we will use the sender as a object ID, and it will group by the sender field, and if the sender is the current user then it will be grouped by the receiver field. Here we will write not equal. Here we have the $sender, then we have this user object ID, then we have our this sender, else we have our receiver. Then from here we can also return the latest message time. We will return a first created. Same we have to do for our latest message also. We will use here message. Then we have the sender here, and we will use here $first $sender. Then we have to pick the message here, and this one will be used for getting the unread count calculation on. We have to push here sender with this $sender. Then we have our receiver $receiver. Then we have our status here, and we are using here this status. After this group we will do the lookup here to get the detail from our user detail table also. $lookup from users local field underscore ID. Then we have foreign field underscore ID. Then we will make it as a user details. After that we will do the unwind here, and we will convert the user detail array to the object here $unwind user details. After that we have to return the fields here, and we will use a project, and this ID we will make it as a 0. We are going to exclude the MongoDB underscore ID variable, and here we have the chat type. We will make it as a private chat, because in future if we want to make it as a group chat also, then we can return here as a group on the basis of the message type and all. Then we have the message ID that we will pick it from the latest message ID. Then we have the username that we will pick from our user details dot username. Then we have our user ID that we will pick it from our underscore ID. After that we have the latest message time 1. This will include the latest message time. Then we have our latest message 1, then we have the sender ID 1, because these things we already defined here, so that's why we are using here. After that we have to do the calculation for our unread, and we will put here unread count. Here we have size, and we will do the filter here, $filter. We will put here input $message as MSC. Then we will put a condition here, and operator we are going to use here. We will put here first condition, we will put here equal to $MSG dot receiver, and we will map with this user object ID. Then we will put here in operator, and we will only pick those record which is not yet read, and we'll write here $MSG dot status. We will map with our status, that is sent or delivered. And the next one will be for our latest message status, that will be used for getting the status of the latest message sent by the current user. We have this latest message status, and we have to put the condition here. First we have to put here equal to, and here we have to check the sender here, that will be this user object ID. After that we have to get the first element of the resulting array, and we will write here $array element at, and here we will do the map here, and this will do the map filter to their status. Then we have to use the input here, and then again we have to do the filter here, and these filter message to those sent by the user. Here we have to put the input as a $messages as MSG. Then we have to put the condition here $equal to $MSG dot sender, and we will map with our user object ID. And here we will write as m in $m dot status. So this will get us the status field, and here we will only get the first element, and in case the user not sent any message, and then we will make it as a null here. And after that we have to return here private chats dot sort, and we will do the sort by the most recent message in the first, and here we will return new date b dot latest message time minus new date a dot latest message time. So what we are doing here, we have created one function that is chat room, and there we have the user ID, the current user, which is going to call this API. And then here we are checking if the user is the sender or the receiver. On the basis of that we will pick the messages. Then we are doing the match here on the basis of this query. Then we have our sorting here, and after that we are doing the grouping. If the sender is not current user, then we will pick group by the sender, else we will pick it by the receiver here. Then we are getting the timestamp of the latest message times, then we are getting the content of the latest message, then we are getting the ID of the latest message, then we have the sender details. After that we are just collecting all the messages for the unread count calculation, this one. And after that we are doing the lookup for the user detail so that we can get the detail of that particular user. And after that we are just returning all our variables with the chat type, message ID, username, user ID, latest message time, latest message, sender ID. Then we are doing the calculation for the unread count by doing the size function. After that we are doing the latest message status by doing the conditions here. So now let's move further, and we will create our controller file. So here we have the chat controller.js file. First of all, in this controller we are going to have only two methods, because these two functions are going to expose to the user, and rest of all the functions we are going to use in our socket service and all. Here we have the import, here we have the fetch chat messages, then we have our chat room, here we have .js. So now first method will be export constant messages is equal to async. Here we have request response. Now here we have to get the variables from our query string, constant sender ID, then we have receiver ID, then we have a page ID, then we have our limit is equal to request.query. Now we will do the try catch here. Inside the try we are going to have a message variable is equal to await. We will call this function fetch chat messages, and here we have the current user ID. and this one we will map with our request.user ID. So here we have to understand one thing. This user ID, we are going to create one middleware, and that middleware will return us the user ID on the basis of the token, whatever the token we are going to put inside the API in the authorization header. And for this we have to create one middleware also. After this we will create that middleware also. Here we have to put the curly brackets, then we have the sender ID, then we have the receiver ID. Here we have we'll parse the int here, base comma 10, then we have the limit here, parse the int limit comma 10, and from here we will return response.json message, and from here we will return response.status 500 JSON message error fetching messages. So what we did here, we have created one function get messages, and there we have this, and this one is page. We have the variables coming from the query string. After that we are mapping this variable in our function fetch chat message, which we have created inside our chat service file. Then we are returning here the message, whatever the message is we are getting here, and the catch we are just doing the error fetching message. We will just copy this function again and we'll paste here. Now same we have to do for the get chat room also, chat room. Here this one is not required, and this function we will change it to chat room, and we will only have one variable, that will be our request.user ID, and we will remove this curly brackets. This one we will change it to rooms, and here we will change the error message to error fetching rooms. So here what we are doing, we have created function get chat room, and there we are just calling our chat room function. There we are passing the user ID, and we are returning all the rooms we are getting. So now let's move further, and first we will create our authentication layer here. So here we have to create one folder, and we will name it as a middleware, and there we have to create one file, and we will name it as a middleware.js. So now what we have to do, first we have to import here JWT from JSON web token. Now here we have to create one function, and this auth middleware will be used whenever we have to protect our API with the token. Then we can pass this function here, and if that API will be called, and if we are not passing any token, then it will give the error 401 unauthorized, because that will require the authentication and all. Here we have the auth middleware is equal to request response next. Here we have the try, then we have the catch here, then we have constant token is equal to request headers dot authorization dot split space. We will give some space here, and first one. So what we are doing here, whenever we put any token in our authorization, we put like a barrier, then we have space with the token, and that's why we are putting the space here, and it will give us the only token, not that barrier word. After that we have to decode it. Constant decoded is equal to jwt dot verify token. Then we will do the process dot environment dot jwt underscore secret key. This one we have to pass. Then we have to put here request dot user ID is equal to decoded dot user ID, and we will write here next. It will move to the next middleware. After that, in the case of the error, it will return here response.status 401.json message authentication field. Here we have to export default middleware. So what we did here, we have created one auth middleware, and there we are just checking our token from the headers, and there we are just doing the decoding of the token by verifying the token. Then we are extract the user ID from the decoded token, and then we are doing the next middleware. So now we will create the route file here, and here we have to create the route file name as a chat routes.js, and we will just copy this one and we will paste here. We will change the controller to chat controller, and functions we have to change it to get chat room, get messages. So here this one we will change it to messages, and here we have to put that middleware. First we have to import here import auth middleware from this file, and we will put this name here. Then we will put a comma. Then we have to put the name here, get messages. So what it will do, when we have this one, then it will require the authentication token to be there. If we remove this one, we can run the API without the authentication token also. In the same way, we will do for this chat room. Here also we will put this middleware, and then we will put the function name here. So what we did here, we have created the chat route with the messages, and this will be the get request, and then we have our chat room API also. So now we will link this one in our server.js also. We will paste here. This one we will change it to chat, and here we will import chat route, and here we have the chat routes, and this one we will map. So now we will do the socket.io integration by using the methods which we have created in our chat service file. So for that, first we have to go to the server.js file, and from here we have to import some of the packages. First one will be our import server, that will be from our socket.io. Now here we have to do the modifications. First we have to create the server, and we have to write here HTTP server, the variable name. Then we have to call the object here create server, and we have to pass here app. Then here we have to write constant io, and constant io is equal to new of server HTTP server, comma, and we have to write here course origin star. So what we are doing here, first we have created the HTTP server with the express app here, and after that here we are just doing the create socket.io server with the course and enable, so that we can access our socket.io server from any domain. After that we have to create one variable here. Here also we have to do the modification. So here, instead of doing the app.listen, we will do HTTP server.listen, and this variable name is HTTP server. So now we will do our socket.io integration all. Now first of all, we have to create one variable that will track all the online users with the map, and there we have to store all the user IDs. Here we have to write constant online users is equal to new of map. After that we have to handle the new socket connections and all. We have to write here io.on, and the event name will be connection. Here we have the socket variable. So here we have to console log the new client connected with the socket ID and all. We have to write here new client connected, and here we have to put the socket.id, so that we can also do the tracking and all, like whenever any new user created, so it will be easier for us to do the debugging and all. Now here we have to create one variable that will track the user ID for this socket, and here we will write let current user ID is equal to null, and here we have to do the first event for our handling the user registration and all. We have to write here socket.on register user, and here we have to pass the user ID. Here we will check if not of user ID, then we will return here. We will just validate if the user IDs exist or not. After that we will map this current user ID with this user ID, and this event will be called from our application, that like whenever any user register or log into our application, then we have to call this socket, so that it will add that particular user to our collection of the active users and all. And here we have to set online users dot set, and we have to set this user ID with the socket ID. Here also we can do the console log, so that we know which event is getting fired here. We will write here user, and we have to pass this variable for user ID register with socket, and we have to pass here the socket ID of that user. After that we have to create one more method that will be used for tracking the pending message and all for that user, and the name of the method will be check pending messages. So it will be like in the UI, whenever any user register, then the chat room list will become, and then the list of the user will be displayed there, and there we have to show how many pending messages, and that count will be shown in the chat room list and all. And this function we will cover later on at last. Before that, we will complete all our events and all. So our next event will be for joining the room and all. And here we have socket on. Here we have join underscore room async. Here we have our variables which we will pass in this join room, user ID and partner ID. So here basically what it will do, it will handle the joining a chat room with the user ID and the partner ID. Then we will create the chat room ID from this. Here we will check not of user ID, not of partner ID. Then from here we will console log. Here we will write invalid join room request missing user ID or partner ID. And from here we will just return the method, so it will not proceed further. After that, we have to do the same thing that we did here to store that user in the online user and all. We will write here current user ID is equal to user ID, and we will set this user ID. After that, we have to generate the room ID. What we will do here, constant room ID is equal to get room ID, and that helper method will call here. We will write user ID comma partner ID, and from here we will join the socket here, socket dot join room ID. So here in the register user, we will just do the handling of the user registration event, and we will just set that current user to the user ID, and we will add that user to that online user collection, and there we will just check for the pending messages that we will cover later on in this video. And for the login API for the socket join, we will call this one, and from here we will write console.log, and we will put here user, this user ID, join room, and we will mention here room ID. So after that, what we will do, we will mark our undelivered messages as a deliver when any user join it. So here we will put inside our try, and here we have the catch error, and here we will create one variable constant undelivered count is equal to await, and from our chat service we will call one function. If we go inside our chat service, and there we have one function named mark message as a deliver, we will call from here, and from here we are expecting two variables, user ID and the partner ID. Those we will pass from here, user ID and partner ID. So here we will check if undelivered count is more than 0. Then here we will do the console log mark count. We will put here undelivered messages as delivered for, and we will mention here user ID. So here take an example like user A send any message to user B. In that case, user B is offline, and once the user B came online, then this join will be called. After that, it will check all the undelivered count, how many messages are undelivered to that user B. Then it will mark them as a deliver because that user is online now. And after that, and once the user is online, and those messages which are in a sent status will be marked as a deliver. And after that, we have to fetch the latest status of those messages from the DB, and then we have to send the status to the user A, so that user A will be came to know that those messages has been sent. So here we will write constant undeliver messages is equal to await get undeliver messages. This is a function. So here is a small correction, like this method we have to call before updating the status of the messages. What we will do, we will just fill all the undelivered messages in the array. We'll write here user ID and the partner ID. Then we will check here if undelivered count is more than 0. Then we will console write, and then we will loop through this undelivered messages, and we will emit the event to the message underscore status. And here we will write undelivered messages dot for each message. Here we have io dot to room ID dot emit message underscore status. We have to create the object here. So what it will do, it will send the status update for all the messages that were just delivered. And here we have the message ID, message dot message ID. Then we have the status, we will pass as a delivered. After that we have the sender, we will put here message dot sender. Then we have the receiver, we will write here message dot receiver. Now after this we will do other events for notify the partner about the user online status and all. We will write here io dot room id dot emit user underscore status, user id and status we are passing here online. And here we will check online users dot has this partner id. Then we will notify the user about the partner status. This will be partner id because here we are passing partner id in the join room. So all these functions we have to do inside the join room only. Here we will write socket dot emit and we will update the user status with same. But here we have to write partner id. In the else condition we will just emit the user status as a offline and we will pass the last seen of that user. We will first get the last seen from the DB. Constant last seen is equal to await get user last seen. We have to pass here partner id socket dot emit user underscore status and we have to update the same thing here. Here we will change the status to offline. And last seen, here we will check if last seen is null or empty, then we will initialize with the new dot to ISO string. So what we are doing here, we are just get and send the partner last seen time if offline. Here in the catch we will just console write error handling room join, and here we have to pass the, so this socket is for the join room. So next one we will do for the send message for handling the sending message and all. We will write here socket dot on and the event name will be send underscore message. Here we have the async message. First we will check if not of message dot sender, not of message dot receiver, or not of message dot message, or not of message dot message ID. That means messages which we are getting in this event is invalid. So we will just console log and we will return from here. We will write here console dot error invalid message format and we will pass this message there and we will return from here. After that we have to get the room ID. We will write here console room ID is equal to get room ID. We will pass the message dot sender. Then we have the message dot receiver here, and after that we will just save the message in the database. And for doing that we have to call the function which we have created, create message, and we will just pass this object here. We will write here dot message and we will append the status here as a sent and we will append the room ID. So here we are getting the message from the user and status we are putting here, and room ID we are just creating here, and the initial status of the message will always be sent status. After that we will just console log here, console log message in room, and we will put the room ID from, and here we have to write the message dot sender ID. We have to write here message dot receiver ID, and we have to write the message here $sign message dot message. So here what we will do, here we will check if that receiver is online or not. If the receiver is online, then we will just set the status to deliver immediately. Suppose if you are a user A and you are sending message to the user B and user B is already in the chat room, then whenever any message is sent by user A to user B, then it will be immediately change the status to deliver. So here what we will do, we will check here if online users dot has message dot receiver, will make this message dot status is equal to delivered, and we will update the status here. We will call here update message status, and here we have to pass message dot message ID and we have to write the status here delivered. And this function we have already created here. So what this function is doing, we are just finding that message on the basis of the message ID, and we are changing the status on the basis of the whatever the status we are passing. In the else we will make the message status is equal to send. After that, we will emit this message to the receiver. We will write here IO dot and we will pass here room ID dot emit new underscore message, and we have to pass this message. So in this new message listener, they will receive the message object and all. After that, we will check if the receiver is online but not in the room. That we will use for the notification purpose. Here we will write online users dot has message receiver. We'll create one variable for the receiver socket ID is equal to online users dot get message dot receiver. Then one more variable constant receiver socket is equal to IO dot sockets dot get this socket ID. So what we will do, we will just check here if the receiver has a socket, that means he is already online and have a active socket. Then we will just send the notification to that user, and here we will check if receiver socket and not of receiver socket dot rooms dot has this room ID, means that user is online but not with that particular chat room. Then we will just send the notification to that user, and we have to first find the constant sender detail. Sender is equal to await user dot find by ID this message dot sender dot select username, and from here we will just emit the notification. We will do receiver, and this notification will only goes to that particular receiver, and we will write here receiver socket dot emit, and name of the event will be new message underscore notification, and we have to create the object here with the sender detail and all. Here we have the sender ID is equal to message dot sender name. We have to pick from this sender username. Then we have the message ID message dot message ID. Then we have the message here, and we have to pick this message dot message. So what we are doing here, we are just checking here if that user is online or not. If that user is online but that user is not active with that particular chat room, in that case we will just emit one event new underscore message dot underscore notification, and we will send a notification to that user for a particular message they receive. After this, we have to create the event for the typing and all. Like any user is typing, we have to notify to the other user that they are typing something. And first we have to create one map to track the typing timeout for each user pair, and we will write a constant typing timeouts is equal to new map, and here we have to store the user ID underscore receiver ID, and we have to store the timeout. Now here we have to create the socket dot on this event typing underscore start. There will be two events. One will be for handling the start event for the typing when user start typing, and the another event we will create for typing end. So once the user stop typing, that event will also create. And here we have to pass user ID and receiver. We have to put inside our curly brackets. Now here we have to first check if not of user ID or not of receiver ID. Then we will return here. This will validate our data. After that, we have to get the room ID. Constant room ID is equal to room ID. So here we have to pass the user ID and receiver ID. And then we have to create one key. Key is equal to user ID underscore receiver ID. Here we have the user ID underscore receiver ID. And here we will check if typing timeout has this key. Then we will clear the timeout. Typing timeout dot get this key, and this will clear the any existing timeout for this user key pair. After that, we will send the typing indicator to that particular room, and we will write here socket.io, and we have to put here room ID dot emit typing underscore indicator, and here we have to pass user ID and is typing true. So now we will set a safety timeout to automatically stop the typing after 5 seconds, and here we will write constant timeout is equal to set timeout. Here we have to emit to room ID dot emit typing underscore indicator, and here we have to pass user ID is typing false, and here we will clean up the timeout entry from our array, we will write here typing timeout dot delete, and we have to pass this key here, and here we have to give the 5000 milliseconds, that will be equal to 5 seconds, and here we will save the timeout reference. We will write here typing timeout dot set, here we have the key and here we have the timeout. In the same way we have to do for the typing end also. We will just copy this one and we will paste here. Here we have to change it to typing end. Here we have to delete the reference typing timeout dot delete, and we have to pass this key, and then we have to just send the typing indicator with the user ID and the typing equal to false, and this one is not required because we are already doing the typing end here. So what we are doing here, we have just created two events. First one is for typing start. Whenever any user start typing, we will just that typing timeout is already in our array or not. If it is already having, then we will do the clear timeout here, and after that we will emit the event to user as a user ID and is typing as a true. After that we will, for the safely timeout, we will just doing the 5 second timeout, automatically timeout. Once the user stop working or after 5 seconds, it will be delete from here. After that we have the second event, that is typing underscore, and there we are just doing the, we are checking here if that typing timeout having any reference here. We will just clear from here, and we are sending the typing indicator to user as a is typing false. That means user stop typing, and we will collapse this one and here also. So now we will write the next event, and that will be for handling our message delivery status update and all. Here we will write socket dot on message underscore deliver. Here we have async message ID, then we have the sender ID, then we are having here receiver ID. We will put here try catch. In the try we will write here await update message status, and we will put the message ID here, and status we will set as it delivered. After that we will notify the sender about the delivery. So we will first create a variable for the room ID is equal to get room ID. We will pass here sender ID and receiver ID. Here we have to create the object here status update is equal to message ID. We are passing here message ID. Then we have the status here delivered. Then here we have the sender, this sender ID we will pass here, receiver we pass here receiver ID. After that we will broadcast the status update to everyone in which are in this room. That will be this sender ID and the receiver ID. We will write here io dot to room ID dot emit message underscore status is status update. So the next event we will do for doing the message dot read event and all. For that also we will just copy this one. We will collapse from here. We will put here, and we will change the event as a messages underscore read. So this will be for handling the marking multiple messages as a read, and here we are just passing the message IDs, sender ID, receiver ID, and inside here we will just do the loop here for loop constant message ID from messages ID, it will be off, and this will update the message status in the database for all the messages. Here we call await update message status. We will pass the message ID dot message ID, and we will put here a read. After that we will notify user about the status. We will remove this line. Here we have the room ID, and after that we will do messages ID dot for each message ID. Here we have this function we can copy from here, and this status we will change it to read. After that this message status we will copy from here and we will paste here. We will just pass the status for each message status and all. So what we are doing here, we are having one event that is messages underscore read, and there we are just looping through all the messages and we are updating that message as a read status. After that we are doing the room ID, and on the basis of all the messages we are just sending the status update to that room with the updated status. Now we will create the another event that will be for handle the marking all the messages as a read at once. We will just copy this one, we will paste here. We will mark underscore messages underscore read, and here we have to pass the user ID and the partner ID. So here first of all we have to mark all our messages as a read. Here we have to first get the count by calling the function that is mark messages as read. If I go there, you will see what it's doing. It will check for that particular user ID and partner ID and only find those messages which are in a sent or the deliver status and mark them as a read. So this API will be only execute only once time. Like if we have to call, like if user is logged in first time and go directly to that particular partner, and then we will call this API so that it will mark all the messages at one go. Here we have to pass user ID and the partner ID. After that we will check here count is more than 0. Then we have to create this room ID. After that we have to emit here. We have to just cut this one and we have to pass this room ID, and here in the emit we have to write here messages underscore all read, and we have to create the object here reader, that will be user ID, and sender will be partner ID. After that we will check if that sender is online but not in this room, then we will send them the direct notification. We have to remove this code, and here we will check if online users dot has partner ID. Then first we will get the sender socket ID. Socket ID is equal to online users dot get partner ID, and we have to get the socket detail also from io dot sockets dot get this sender socket ID. And here in the send message also we have to change it to this io dot sockets dot sockets, and here we will check if sender socket and not of sender socket dot rooms dot has room ID. Then we will call here sender socket dot emit message underscore all underscore read. Reader we will map with our user ID, and sender we will map with our partner ID. After that we have to create one more event, and that event will be handle the user status change, like if user is online or offline. And here we have to write socket dot on, and here we have user underscore status underscore change async, and here we have user ID status, and then we have last seen, and here we will check if status is equal to offline, and here we will update the last seen in our database. We will do await update user last seen. We will pass the user ID, whatever the last seen will be that we will pass here, and we will check here if that user is in this socket area and all. If he is there, then we will remove that user. We will write here online users dot get user ID is equal to socket dot ID. Then we will remove from here online user dot delete this user ID. After that we will notify all the relevant chat partner about the offline status for that user. We will put here io dot underscore user underscore status user ID, and here we have the user ID status offline, and last seen will be whatever the last seen we will pass from there. And else condition, if user came online, we will update here. We will write here online users dot set user ID and this socket ID, and we will emit the status here. This one we will change it to online, and we will remove this last seen from here. So what we are doing here, we are just calling the event that is user underscore status change event, and we are checking here if the status is offline. Then we are just updating the user last seen, and on the basis of that user ID and the last seen. And after that we are also checking if that user is inside our online users collection. Then on the basis of that socket ID, then we are just deleting that user. After that we are just emitting that user underscore status with the user ID with the status as offline and the last seen, whatever the last seen will be. And the else condition, we are just setting that user ID and the socket ID, and we are just emitting that user status to user ID and the status as a online. After that we have to do the client disconnection handling and all. We will write here socket dot on disconnect async. We will check here if current user ID, then we will remove here by checking if online users dot get user ID is equal to socket dot io dot ID Then we will delete from here online users dot delete this current user ID, and we have to update the last scene here. And we will just from here in the disconnect, we will just emit the user status also from here. And before that, we have to update the user last scene, and we will put here last scene is equal to new date dot to ISO string await update user last scene. We have to pass a current user ID and the last scene, and then we have to emit this status. We will copy from here and we will paste here, and this user ID we will change with this current user ID. And in the we are just calling this event, that is disconnect event, in the socket. And here we are checking for the current user ID which we have created in the starting. You can see here this user, when user register or when any user join, then we will put this current user ID with the user ID. And then we are checking here if that user is inside our online user array, then we will delete from there. And then we are just updating the last scene for that user, and we are updating in our database, and we are just emitting the event user underscore status with that status to all user. We are not sending, you have to see here one thing, like this io.emit we are doing for all user. If you have to do any emit for any particular user, then you have to pass the chat room ID here, or you can say the whatever the session we joined there, that ID we have to pass here. So now we have to create the last method which we have pending here, that will be the check pending message. And this helper function will be help to check for and notify about the pending message if there will be any for that particular user when they register to the system. And here we will write async function check pending messages user ID. We'll put the try catch here. We will find all the messages which are having status sent. We will write a constant pending messages is equal to await message dot find. We have to pass a receiver this user ID, and status will be sent. And we will populate the sender detail, sender this username. And then here we will check if pending messages dot length is more than 0. Then we will group the messages by creating one variable messages by sender. We will create the object here. Then we will loop through pending messages dot for each message, and here we will check if not of messages by sender msg dot sender underscore dot underscore id. Then we will make this array msg dot sender underscore id is equal to empty array. And here we will just start pushing the messages inside our array messages by sender, and we have to pass this id msg dot sender dot underscore id dot push msg. So here we will check if we are having any socket for this user. If we are having, then we will send a notification about the pending messages from each users. We will write here constant user socket is equal to iu dot sockets dot get online users dot get user id user socket. Then we have object dot keys messages by sender dot for each this sender id. We have the constant count is equal to messages by sender id dot length constant sender name is equal to messages by sender, and here we have the sender id. We are just picking the sender name from this array dot sender dot username. After that we will emit this user about all the pending messages. We have this user socket dot emit. We have pending underscore messages. We have this sender id, sender name, count. Then we have the latest message, and here we have the messages by sender, this sender id, and we have to show the latest message only, not the old messages. Dot message, and we will uncomment this code from here. So now our socket integration also completed. First of all, we have to put some of the code which we missed in our previous videos and all. So here first of all we have to add one import which we missed, that is this one, mark message as delivered. So that need to be add here. And after that we have to import our model file for the messages and the user, and here we will put import message from ./model/message.js file, and we will copy same, we'll paste here, and here we will do for the user also. Here also we'll put user, and this one we have to put the lowercase. After that we have to do some more modification here. First one is this one. Here we have the socket.io. Instead of that we have to put here in the line number 148 we have to put here socket.to. That means this to this room ID we have to emit this function and all. Same we have to do here also. In the line number 175 we will put here socket.to. So here in the line number 95, that is this function, that is socket.on, we have put here incorrect variable name, that is message.sender. Instead of this wrong name we have to put here sender here. So the next changes we have to do in our chat server.js file. We will go there. So we have to go to this function, mark message as a deliver, and here we have to put here new in front of that object ID, and same here also. And in the top we have to go here, and here we have to write constant object ID is equal to mongoose dot types dot object ID, and this object ID we are going to use here. Now after this we have to go to the function name, that is update user last seen, and here we have to change the function to find by ID and update. This function we have to change here. Now after that we have to go to the function that is fetch chat messages, and here after that aggregate we have to put here bracket, and the closing bracket also we have to put here. So the last change we have to do in our chat room function. So here we have to add one variable, that will be this one, latest message ID, and here we will put underscore ID. After that here we have to change it to sender instead of sender ID, and here also we will change it to sender, and here in the input we have to change it to messages. So now let's move further and we will start with our Flutter application and all. So before moving to the Flutter application, I will introduce to you our new plugin which we have used in our application, that is Flutter chat plugin. So this plugin is very flexible, feature rich chat plugin for our Flutter application that can provide us the real-time messaging capabilities using socket.io. And this plugin also handle all the complex aspect of the chat implementation, that will be including real-time messaging, online status, typing indicators, and message delivery read receipt. So these are the features for our plugin, that is real-time messaging, instant message delivery using the socket.io, and this is also a cross-platform which can be worked with the iOS, Android and web. And we can also have the message status tracking with the sent, deliver and the read receipts. Also we have the typing indicator that will show the user is typing or not. Also we are having the online status, and we can track the user online and offline status with the last seen timestamp. Also we have the chat room facilities where we can manage the multiple conversations, and also we can customize our UI and the API endpoints. And this is the event-based architecture that can be react to the changes with the comprehensive event system. So the installation is very simple. We have to just put in the dependencies, that is the chat plugin with the latest version, and after that we have to go to our main.dart file. There we have to initialize our chat configuration and all. Here we can put the API URL, that is the API which we have developed, that URL we have to put here. And here is the user ID, whatever the user logged in user, that ID will be provided here. And after that we have the token, and we have to provide the user authorization token of that particular logged in user. And here we have the variables parameters. On the basis of that we can enable or disable the features. The first one is the enable typing indicators. So in case you don't want to show the typing indicator, you can make it false, or if you want to show that, you have to make it true here. Same for the read receipt also. If you don't want to show any read receipt for the sender, then you can make it false here. And here also, if you want to disable the online status, you can make it false here. And also we have this auto mark as a read. Whenever any message will come, we can mark it as a read here. That also we can toggle from here. And also we have this parameter for the max reconnection attempts. So here we can define all our API handlers and all. So in case if you don't want to follow our API and all, if you are having your own API, that also you can integrate here by putting a URL and all. And here we can have this chat API handlers. First one, the load messages handler. There we can provide the page number, limit, and the search text, and it will return the result here. Then we have the load chat room handler. There we can provide the API URL for all the chat room and all. Then also we can implement this send message handler from here and all. So with this chat service.instance, we can update this configuration, and the API handler we can set from here, and after that we can initialize the chat plugin here. So code is very simple and very readable here. So let's move to our Flutter application. We will go through each and every code from there. So now we will create our Flutter application, and for doing that, first of all we will go to our terminal, and from here we will write cd app, and inside the app folder we are going to create our Flutter application. We will write here flutter create dot. It will create the Flutter application inside this folder. So here you can see here we have the Flutter application. So first of all we will go to our pub/spec, and there we are going to add the packages which we are going to use in our application. So these are our packages. So first one is the HTTP, which will be used for our API calling and all. And the second one is the shared preference for storing our login credentials and the token. And this is the chat plugin which we have developed for the easy development with any of the chat application in the Flutter. So now inside our lib folder we are going to create one file, and we will name it as a config dot file. And here also we are going to define one variable, and we will put a class config. Here we will write static constant string API underscore URL is equal to, and we will write here http:// and we will put the IP here. And before doing that we have to run our API also, and for doing that we will open a terminal here, and we will write here cd API folder, and here we will write node.js. You can see here server started, MongoDB connected. Now here we will write our IP 192.168.1.4:3000, because we are going to test this application in the real device also, and for that we have to communicate the API with our real device. For that purpose we have to write here the URL and all. So now here we have to create one folder, and we will name it as a utils. Inside this folder we will create one file, and that will be used for our constants, variables and all. And here we have the constant dot file. Inside that we can create multiple classes and all. First one we are going to use here is the app color. Here we can define list of all the app color and all. Static constant color, and here we have to import, and we will name the variable as a primary color, and we can define the color here. So we are going to use this color. So now we have to create our services file. First of all we are going to create one file that will be the auth service file. Inside that we are going to define multiple functions. First one will be the login user, then we have the register user, then also we can have the get user ID from the shared preference, then setting the user ID, user token in our shared preference. Also the is logged in function we can create here. We will create the folder here. We will name it as a services. Inside that we can define the new file that will be the auth service auth underscore service dot file, and here we have the class auth service. Before that, we have to also import here, import package http dot as http. Now here we have to define some of the methods. First one will be our static type of future return as a bool login user, and the parameter we are going to give is, first one will be the string type of username, then we have the string type of password, and we will make this function as async here. Inside that we will put the try catch, and here inside the try we will going to call our http.post request. Here we will have the final response is equal to await http.post. Here we have to pass the URL, and for doing that we have to put here uri.parse, and the URL we will get from our config file, and we have to import here import /config.dart file. Here we have the $config.api URL /API/users/login. After that we will define the headers here, and we will have this one as a content type application/JSON. Then we have the body here, and we will pass here JSON encode, and here we have to pass two parameters. First one will be our username, then we have our password, and this one also we have to put inside our curly brackets, and this one we have to import here. This will be this parameter, and from here we can return false. Here we have the exception. Now here we will check if response.status code is equal to 200. Then here we will define one variable, data is equal to JSON decode, and whatever the response body we are getting we will decode into the JSON, and we will check here if data with this user ID not equal to null. That means we are getting the response with the proper user ID from the API. Then we will store this user ID and the token in our shared preference, and here we will write shared preference is equal to await shared preference dot get instance, and here we will write preference dot set string. First we will have the key, and the key will be our user ID. Then we'll have here data, this user ID. Same we have to do again for the token also. We will write here token, and here we will have token, and here we have to initialize our chat plugin also, that we will cover later on. We will comment here chat plugin. After the chat plugin we will add some short delay to ensure the socket connection is established properly, and for doing that we have to put the delay here with the millisecond of 500, and then from here we will just return true, and outside this we will return here false. So what we did here, we have created one function that will be the login user, and we are passing here username and password, and there we are just doing the http.post request, and we are just parsing our API URL with this endpoint API/user/login. In the headers we are just passing content type as application/JSON. In the body we are just doing the JSON encode with the username and the password, and here we are checking if we are getting the status code 200. Then we are just decoding our response body from the API, and then we are just checking if the data is having the user ID and that is not null. Then we are just storing this user ID and token in the shared preference, and from here we are returning true. And before that we have to also do the initialization of the chat code, that we will cover later on. And outside this condition we can put here return false, that the user not valid, and the catch also we will put here return false. So now let's move further, and we will create one more function. We will just copy this function and we will paste here, and we will rename it as a register user, and the variable will be same, everything will be same, just we will change here the endpoint to the register, and rest of the everything will be same here. Whatever the user registered the first time, we will just store their user ID and token in our shared preference, and from here we are returning true and all. And here same thing we will do for the plugin initialization and all. So now we will create more functions. First one will be our static future type of string get user ID, and this will get the user ID from our shared preference. Here we will have shared preference is equal to await shared preference dot get instance, and we will return here preference dot get string, and the name of the key will be our user ID. And here we have to make this function async here. Next one will be we will copy this one and we will paste here, and we will put here is logged in. Here we will check if the user is logged in or not, and return type will be changed to boolean. And here we have we will check here if the preference dot get string user ID is not equal to null, that means user is logged in, else user is not logged in. So the next function we will create here, we will copy and paste here. It will be get user token, and this will be used for sending the user Auth token in all the API requests and all. And here we will change it to, and we will create one more function, and that will be used for the logout user. And we can copy this one and we can paste here. We will change here return type as a void, and method name we will change to logout user. Here we can pass the build context because we have to also redirect user to the landing page context. And here we will write await preference dot remove key, that will be user ID. Same we will do for the token also, and we can also clear this preference dot clear, and from here we will redirect user to different page, and we'll put here navigator dot off context dot push replacement name, and here we will have the name that will be /landing. And before that also we have to do some code for the chat also to disconnect user from the socket and all, that we will cover. So now we will start with the code for the chat initialization and all. And first of all we will create one function. We will put a static future void initialize chat plugin, and we will provide the parameter string user ID string token, and here we have the async. Now we will wrap it with our try catch. Here we will check if chat config dot instance dot user ID is equal to this user ID. So here we will check if the plugin is already initialized, then we will just refresh the connection, and we will write here chat plugin dot chat service dot global connection, refresh global connection, and from here we will just return. In the else we will initialize our plugin. We will put here await chat plugin dot initialize, and here we have to put the chat config. We will put here chat config, and this API URL we will pick from our config.api URL. Then we have the user ID. User ID will be the logged in user ID, and that we will map from this variable user ID. Then we have the token here, that also we will map from here token. After that we have some of the parameters. First one is the enable tapping indicator. If we want to enable the tapping indicator, like if one user is tapping from here, the other user will able to see that user is typing, so that we can toggle from here. We will put it true. Same from the enable a read receipt, we will put it true. And then we have the enable login status, we will put it true. So with this variable enable online status, user will able to see that if that particular user is login or online or not. Then we have the auto mark as a read, we will make it as a true. Then we have the max reconnection attempt, we will put 5. We can put as many as we want, like this will be for if the server is not responding, it will do the maximum of the 5 reconnection attempts and all. Then we have this debug mode true. Before going to the live, we will make it as a false here. It will be used for our logs and all. Then after that we have to set our API handlers, and for doing that we have to create one function and we will create this function here, static future void underscore setup chat API handlers. This parameter will be user ID string token. This function also we will make it as async here. So here what we have to do, we have to create one variable final API handlers is equal to chat API handler. Now from here we have the multiple handlers. First one will be our load messages handler, and from here we have the parameters page is equal to 1. Then we have the limit, we can limit how many messages we have to load. Then we have the search text if we want to do any search and all. So all this handler we have already written in our chat plugin. Just we have to do the implementation of this handler in our Flutter application so that it will handle according to the chat plugin. This one also we will make it as async here. From here we will create one variable receiver ID. That ID we will pick from our chat plugin dot chat service dot receiver ID. So basically this ID is like if you are going to chat with someone and that ID of that particular user will be our receiver ID because they are going to receive your message. So that we will set when we enter to any chat room, and from there we will just set this ID and it will be retrieved from here. And here we will check receiver ID is empty. Then we will return here empty messages. Then we will put here the try catch. Inside the try we will create one variable for the URL where URL is equal to config.api URL. Then we have the API /chat/ messages ? Then we have the current user ID is equal to this user ID. Then we have the receiver ID here. We will write here receiver ID is equal to $receiver ID, and here also we can remove the curly brackets. Then we have our other parameters like page is equal to $page. Then we have our limit, how many messages we have to show here, $limit. And also we can append our search text. If you want to search any text inside the message, we will check here if search text dot is not empty. Then we will append the URL is equal to $search text is equal to $URI dot encode component, and we have to pass here search text. After that we have to do the HTTP GET request. We will put here final response is equal to await HTTP dot GET request, and we will pass this URL. We put here URI dot parse this URL. Then we have the headers here. We will put here authorization bearer token we will pick from this variable, and this is in the lowercase. Then we have the content type. We will put here content type application JSON, and we will put here if response dot status code is equal to 200. Then from here we will write final list dynamic data JSON decode, and we will decode whatever the data we are getting from the server response.body. And then from here we will return data.map MSC, that will be our variable name, chat message dot from map, this map we will pass, and we have this user ID, current user ID dot toList, this MSC. And here in the else condition we will just return here empty array. Same we can do from this catch also. So what we did here, we have just created one method that is set up chat API handlers, and these handler already map with our plugin. We have to just do the implementation here, like we have to pass the API URL and the calling of the whatever the data we are getting and all that will be mapped automatically. And first one will be our load messages handler, and we have the parameter for the page number, and then we have the limit, how many limit we have to give. So this is a receiver ID we have to pass here, and on the basis of this receiver ID it will load all the messages which we have that particular user having the chat message with that receiver, that will be load here. In case receiver ID is empty, then it will just return the empty array. And then inside the try catch we are just putting the URL here, and we are putting here the endpoint of our API. Then we have the endpoint like API/chat/messages. Then we have to pass the parameters like current user ID, then we have the receiver ID, page number, then we have the limit, how many messages we have to load in the first request. Then here we are also checking if the search text is not empty, then we are just appending with the query string. So we are also doing the encode component for this parameter. Then we are just doing the http.get request, and there we are just passing the token in the authorization. Then here we are just checking if the response we are getting 200. Then we are just decoding whatever the response body we are getting, and then we are returning with doing the chat message.from map, and we are just passing their MSG, that is this object, and the user ID, and then we are just doing the toList here, and in the else condition we are just doing the empty array. After that we have to do for the chat room handler also. We will just copy this one and we will paste here, and this one we will change it to load chat room handler, and here we don't have any parameters, and this receiver ID is not required here, and this endpoint we will change it to API chat, and this one will be our chat room. It will load all the chats of that particular user with all the users. That will be load here, the name of the user and all. And this one will be also the get request. Here the map we will change it to chat room, and this one is not required. And this variable we can change it to room, or whatever the name you want to give, we can give it. In the else it will be same. So after that what we have to do, we have to set this handler with our chat plugin. We will put here chat plugin dot chat service dot set API handlers, and we will set this API handler here. So the last function we have to create. For doing that we will just copy this function also, and we will paste here. We will name it as a fetch users. We will remove all the parameters. We can change it to get request. Here we can create one variable where token is equal to await get user token, and this endpoint we will change it to user/users, and this body is not required here because this is a get request. In the response we will remove this one, and here we will just do final data is equal to json decode dot response dot body, and we will just return here this data. In the else we will just return here empty array. Here also we can return empty array, and this return type we can change it to list dynamic. So now we have to modify all our above method where we have put where we left with the chat plugin integration and all. And first one will be this one, login user. What we will do here, after the user is successfully login, then we will just do the initialization of the chat plugin. We'll put here chat initialize chat plugin, and we have to pass here data this user ID. Same we can do for this token also. It will just call this function, it will initialize the plugin, and after that we have to put here delay. We have to put here future dot delay. We'll put the duration here in milliseconds 500. This one we are doing to add a short delay to ensure that the socket connections are established properly. Now in the same way we have to do for our registration also. We will just copy this one and we can just paste here. So this will make ensure that after the user successfully login or registered, it will initialize our chat plugin. Same we can do in the logout also. And here what we have to do, we have to put it try, and we have the catch here. Inside here we have to check here if chat config dot instance dot user ID is not equal to null. Then we can put here chat plugin dot chat service dot full disconnect. So what we are doing here, when user press the logout button here, first we will check here if the user ID is not clear from our instance of that chat configuration and all. Then we will just do this full disconnect. Then it will remove everything from the chat plugin, and it will be like a reset to our chat plugin and all. So now let's move further, and we will integrate all this API in our Flutter application. So now we will create our main.dot file, and we will go there. In the main.dot file, we have to initialize our chat plugin and all. And here, first of all, we will write here widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialize. So this will ensure that Flutter bindings are initialized before calling any native code and all. So from here also we can set our status bar appearance and all. And we will write here system chrome dot set system UI overlist style, and here we will pass system UI overlay style, and we have to pass the status bar color, and color we are using here transparent. Then we will put your status bar icon brightness, and we are using a brightness dot light. After that, we will check here if the user is logged in or not. If the user is logged in, then only we will initialize the chat plugin and all. Here we have final is logged in is equal to await auth service dot is user logged in, and this function will make it as a async here, and there is a spell mistake here. D is not required here. We will go there and we will change from here. And here we have to do some more modification here, which we did in our auth service. First of all, we will go to our initialize chat plugin here, and instead of passing this user ID and token from as a parameter, we will get it from our auth server itself. Like we will put here final user ID is equal to await auth service dot get user ID. Same we will do for the token also, get token, and we will remove this checking from here, and we will put it in the main.dart file, and from here we will call this chat API handler also. We will write here await underscore setup chat API handler, and we will pass this user ID and token here. Then here we will initialize our chat service, and we write here await chat plugin dot chat service dot initialize. After that, we will also load our chat room also. We will write here await chat plugin dot chat service dot load chat room, and we will change this reference, and everywhere we will remove this one. This is not required. Same here in the registration also, we will remove this. So now we will go back here, and from here we will check if is logged in is equal to true. Then from here we will initialize our chat plugin and all. We will put here auth service dot initialize chat plugin, and here in the my app we have to make it as a stateful visit. We will remove all the below code, and we will write here stateful visit my app, and we will remove all this code here, and from here we will create one variable final is logged in, and we will make it as a required field. This dot is logged in. Same we have to pass here also is logged in, and this constants we have to remove here, and this constant we have to remove from here. So now here we have to maintain the state of our application and all, and we will do here with visit binding observer. So basically this visit binding observer is used to monitor and react to the changes in our Flutter application environment, such as the application lifecycle event, like if we are going from background to foreground or from foreground to background, or if there will be any screen change, orientation change and all. So for that purpose we use it. And here we have to override our instate function. Here we have the override void instate. We have to put here super dot instate. Then here we have the visit binding dot instance dot add observer this. After that we have to initialize the chat connection, and we will check if the user is logged in or not, and here we will put visit dot is logged in. Then here we have to use the post frame callback to ensure that the visit fully initialized, and we will write here visit binding dot instance dot add post frame callback. Here we have to write ensure chat connection, and we have to create one function here, and this function will be used to ensure the chat connection is established and active. We have to put the function here void underscore ensure chat connection, and we'll make it as async here. And this function we will check with the if the plugin is initialized with the user ID or not. Here we will check if chat config dot instance dot user ID is not equal to null. Then we have to use a try catch, Inside the try, we will put your final chat service dot chat service is equal to chat plugin dot chat service. And then we will check if the socket is connected or not. We will check here if not of chat service dot is socket connected. Then we have to initialize our global connections. We will put here await chat service dot initialize global connection. In the else, we will just refresh our connections and all. We put here await chat service dot refresh global connections, and we have to remove this await from here. After that, we have to set the status for the user as a online, and we will write here chat service dot update user status, and we will put here true. And here after the else condition, we will just initialize our chat plugin because that is not yet initialized, and we will write here await auth service dot initialize chat plugin. So what we are doing here, we are created one function that ensures chat connection. This will ensure the chat connection is properly done with the socket and the backend APIs. So here we are checking if the user ID is not equal to null. That means our chat plugin is already initialized properly. Then we are just checking the try catch. If the socket is not connected, then we will do the initialize global connection. Else we are doing here refresh global connection. After that, we are just making the user status as a true. That means the user is logged in after the successfully connection and all. And we will call this function from here. And this will only call if the user is logged in, else this will not call. After that, we have to do the handling of the app lifecycle, state changes and all. And we have to override void did change app lifecycle state, and here we have to put the parameter that is app lifecycle state. And here we will check if the user is logged in, then only we will proceed with all this lifecycle states and all. Else we will just return from here. We'll check here if not of visit dot is logged in, then we will return from here. Else we will check here if state is equal to app lifecycle dot resume. So here in the resume, that means the app came from foreground, and we have to ensure the connection, and we have to set the status of the user as a online, and we have to call this function ensure chat connection. And here in the else condition, we will check here else if state is equal to app lifecycle state dot pause. We have to put here try catch, and here the app goes to background, and we have to update the status to away. We will not do any disconnect because we have to also receive the messages from user if the app is in the background. And here we have to write final chat service is equal to chat plugin dot chat service, and we have to set the state here of the user, and we have to make it as a false here. That means user is not logged in because the user goes out from the app, and we will make the state of the user as offline here, or you can make it as a way also. So now we have to put this build function all, and from here we have to return material app. We have to put your initialize route, that will be slash. This will be start with the root route. Then we have to put here debug show check mode banner, and we have to make it false here. And then we have to define all the routes here, and the first one will be our slash. That means, so this will be our root path, and here we have to initialize the route with the checking the auth status of the user, if the user is logged in or not. If the user is logged in, we have to redirect user to the dashboard, that is the chat room page. Else we have to redirect user to the login page. We have to put here initializer wizard, and that we have to create here. We have to create it outside. It as a stateful widget. We will put here name of the widget as a initializer widget, and here we have to pass one variable that will be string nullable initialize route, and here we have to override void int state super dot initialize state. Then here we have to check the user is logged in or not. User is logged in or not. We have to create one function here. We have to put here future void underscore check login. So here we will check final is logged in is equal to await auth service dot is logged in. We'll make it as async here, and we'll check if is logged in. Then we will make the initial route as a slash direct messages, else we'll make it as a initial route is equal to slash landing page, and from here we will just navigate user to that initial route. We put here navigator. We will write here navigator dot off context dot push replacement name, and we have to pass this initial route here, and we will put here exclamation sign, and this function we will call from here. Here we have this function, and here in the body we have to just put here scaffold widget. Here in the body we have to pass here center widget with child circular progress indicator. So what we are doing here, we have created one widget, and what that widget will do, it will show the circular progress indicator, and behind the scene it will check if the user is logged in or not. If the user is logged in, then it will redirect user to the direct messages, else it will redirect user to the landing page. And here we have to create the other routes also. We have to copy this, paste here, and we will make it here as a landing, and we have to create the landing page here. Then we have this login. We have to create the login page, and then we have the register, and we have to create the register page also. Same we have to do for the direct message also, messages, and we will create all these pages. So now let's just move further, and we will create all these pages. So now we will create our landing page, and most of the UI I will going to copy paste because I will focus more on that integration part instead of creating the UI part and all. But I will put link in the description of the GitHub for the UI code and all. So now we will create the first page, that will be we will create here folder that is pages. Under that we have to create a new page that is landing underscore page dot file, and I will just copy paste the page here. So what we did here is, first we have to import so here we have to import this one. We have to check if we are using correct name or not. We have here app color, but here we are using app colors. We will change here to app colors. Now we will import here, and we will link this page here in the main.dot file, this one, and we will run the page. Then I will go through all the code. So API we have already started. You can see here this is a landing page. Now let's go to the code also. In the landing page we have created the stateful widget, and there we are using the background color, primary color we are using. Then in the body we are using the save area, and then we are using a stack here. Inside the stack we are having the background with the curve white part. You can see here in the bottom there we have the two buttons. First one will be the login button, and the second one is the register now button. And the top you can see we have our logo, or you can say the icon, and the name of the application, that is chat application. Then we have the click event for this login and the register now. When we click here on the login, it will redirect user to the login page, and when we click on the register now, it will redirect you to the register page. So now let's make the login page also. We will create here login underscore page dot file This one also we are going to copy paste here. First we will click here, and before doing that we have to go to the main.dart file, and from here we have to do the linking of this page, and we will change it to login page screen. We will reload the application here. Now if I click on the login here, you can see we are landed to the login page. When we click here on the login, you will see the login page is coming here. When you press the back here, you will see user redirect to the landing page here. In the login page, what we are doing here, we have created the login page with the stateful widget, and there we have the two text box. First one will be our email ID, or you can say username. Then we have the password, and then we have created one variable that is loading false, that will be used for showing the loader and all. Then we have created the function that is underscore login function name. There we are first setting the state of this loading as a true. That means when we click on the login button, it will show the loader here. After that it will pick the email, or you can say username, from the email controller. Then it will also pick the password from the password controller, and then it will check if the email and the password is not empty. Then it will call the API method which we have created inside our auth service dot login user. There we are passing the email and the password, and there it will be check if we are getting that true response, that means the success. Then it will be redirecting user to the track messages page, else it will show the snack bar with the message login fail, please try again. Same for the else condition, it will throw the error that is please enter email or password. Now if I click here, you will see it is saying please enter email or password. And if I put something here also, if I put something, and if I click on the login, you can see it is saying login failed, please try again. Then we have this navigate to register page. There we are just redirecting user to the register page. And then what we are doing here in the UI, we have the background the same primary color. Then we have the safe area, and we are using a stack here with the back navigation fix in the top. And there we are just calling our navigator.pop. Then we have the position fill, that is this area. There we have our label with the hello, and then the message, this message here, sign into your account. Then we have our email ID. Then we have the text field, and there we are just mapping with the email controller. Then we have our password field, and there we are mapping with our password controller and all. And here we have this forgot password also. We can remove this on press event, which is not required because we are not covering the forgot password in this video. Then we have this login button that we have already covered in the top. So now we will create the register page also. We will put here register underscore page dot file. Here also we will just copy this page and we will paste here. And we have to first map it with our main.dart file. And we have to go to the main.dart, and here we will change register with our register screen. We will reload the page here, and if I click here on the register now, you can see user landed to this page. If we go back, you will see user goes back to the landing page. And if I go here in the login page, and here also we have the register now. If I click here, user will land to this page, and from here also we can go to the login page also, like this way. So what we are doing here in this page, let's go through. There we have the three text box in the register now. First one is the name, email ID and password. As of now we are not saving any name in our database. We are just capturing the email ID and password. That name you can do yourself also. And here we are just checking if it is not null. Then we are just calling the API service, that is register user, with this email ID and password. And then we are landing user to the direct messages. Else we are just showing the message like registration failed, please try again. And we are throwing the error here. Then we have this navigate to login function also. So now what we will do, we will create one account and we will see is it working or not. We will write here Raman, and we will put an email ID, raman@snippetcoder.com. We'll put the password here, and we will click this terms and condition. And now we will click on the register now. You can see here we are getting registration failed, please try again. So now let's put the debugger and see where the issue is. We'll go to this register page, And from here we will put the debugger here and we click again here, register now. So here we are doing the post request with this username and password. We put the debugger here also. We will press the, and we are getting here 404 error. So now let's see what wrong we have put here. We will open our APIs and in the routes we will go there. We'll open the user routes. We have this register and the login here. So I think the issue is like we are putting here backslash. We have to remove this one and let's try again. Here if I put now we are getting here 201 and we are also getting the error that is password must be at least 8 characters, and you will see this error here, registration failed, please try again. So now we will change the password again. Now we will click again here and let's see. So here we are getting 201 and we are also getting this user ID, but we are not getting any token here which is required. So now let's see in our API why the token is not coming here, because if you see we are just doing the initialization of the chat plugin and there we require the user ID and the token both. So now from here we will just click the button and we are getting here registration fail. So now let's see where the issue is. First we have to check our API. We have to click here in the register user. So here in the register user we will not provide any token. We have to provide the token in the login. So what we have to do, we have to modify our auth service, and from here we will not do any saving of the user ID and token, and we will not do any initialization of the chat plugin and all. We will ask user to log into the system, then this process will be happen there. We will just comment all this code. So now let's reload and we'll try again. We'll put here Raman and change the email ID to raman1@snippetcoder@.com. We have this password here and we click register again. Here we are getting status code 201, but here we are checking with the 200, so that's why it is getting failed here. We will change it to 1 here and we will save it and try again. We will change it to 2 here and we click again here in the register now. So now user is registered. So what we will do, we will just log in that user. We will click on the login here. We'll put the email ID raman2@snippetcoder.com and we have to put the password here and we click here login. And before doing that we have to put the debugger here. Click here on the login. You will see we are getting status 200 and the response we are getting a token, and the data what we are getting here, we are getting 2 items. First one is a token and the second one is the user ID, and this token and user ID we have to set inside our shared preference. Then we have to initialize this chat plugin and all. You can see here we are doing the initialization and we are just doing the delay of millisecond 500 to make sure that our chat plugins are properly initialized and all. We can also open the console here. You can see here we are getting all the connected user in the socket in our API, and also see in our application also if we are getting any error or not. So we are not getting any error and all. So you can see here creating a new socket connection to this server, and also we are getting a socket connected with the ID, this ID and all. So you are getting all this log because here in the configuration we have put debug mode true. If we put here false, we are not getting any console message for all the logs and all. So now let's move further and we will create our direct message pages, and from there we will start our chat process and all. So first of all, in the main.dot file we have this direct messages, and here we have to create the page for the direct messages, and here we will write chat_room.dot file. We will make it as a stateful widget. Here we have to write direct messages. So here we have to create some of the variables, and before that we have to just save it, and we have to map this one, and we will import from here and we will save here. So in the screen you can see we are getting the blank page here. So now we have to first design the page. Here we have to make it as a scaffold widget. Here we have the app bar, and here we have the app bar. Title we have to give it text widget direct messages. We will save here. you can see here we are getting here the title. Here we have to add the actions here. So first one, we can put here icon button. On press event, we will put nothing here because we are not going to cover this one here. We have to just put the icon here, icons dot person icon. So here we have the icon person, and we can implement later on, like we can have the profile page and all. The second one, we will copy this one and we will paste here. This one we will change it to, we have this logout, and here we have the on press event, and the on press event we can put here await auth service. We have to import here first dot logout user, and here we have to make it as a async here. Now here we have to create a body also. We have the body here. After this app bar, we have this body, and we can check if that data is loading or not. On the basis of that, we can show the loader and that user data and all. And basically this screen is for having all the user which are in our database, and when user click on them, then it will open the chat screen and all. And before putting here, we have to make some variables here. First one will be our final chat service underscore chat service is equal to chat plugin dot chat service. Then we have the boolean underscore is loading is equal to true. So here we will check underscore is loading. Then we have to show the loader here with the center visit. We will write here child circular progress indicator. Else what we will do here, we have to make a column visit. After that we have the children's here. We have to put some padding here. We are using a constant h instant all value 8. Then we have the child here. We will put here size box. We have the height here 120. Then we have the child here. We put here future builder, and here we have to make the list dynamic. Here we have the future. We will put here auth service dot fetch users. Then we have the builder here. Here we will check if snapshot dot connection state is equal to connection state dot waiting. Then we will show here loader. We will return here center visit. Child, we have the circular progress indicator. In the else condition, we will check here else if snapshot dot has data, and also we will check here if the snapshot dot data is not empty. Then from here we will return list view dot builder, and here we have the scroll direction, and we are using here axis dot horizontal. Then we have the item count. We have the snapshot dot data dot length. Then we have the item builder, and here we have the context index, and here we have the user is equal to snapshot dot data index, and from here we will return padding edge insert symmetric horizontal 8. Then here we have the child here, and we are using a inkwell because we have to make the click event for that column. And here we have the on tap event. Before that we will make here column wizard. We have the main axis size, and we are using a main axis size dot minimum. Then we have the children's here, and we are having a circular avatar radius. We are using here 30, and then we have the background color, and we are using a colors dot gray color. Then we have the child here, and we will show here username user. Then we have to put here username dot to uppercase, and here we have the style here, and we are using a text style font size 24. Basically what it will do, it will show the circular image view and all, and there we are not going to show any image. We're just showing the first character of the username and all. After this we have to put here size box height 8. Then we have the text here, and we are using here username, style, text style, font size 14. After this we will return here center visit child. We are having here text visit no user found. So now what we will do, we will create here function that is future type of void underscore int chat service. Basically it is a initialization of the chat service. We will make it as async here. After that we will put here try catch. Inside the try we will put here set state, and we will put here underscore is loading is equal to true. Here we will write if not of underscore chat service dot is socket connected. That is, we have to make sure we have a active global connection all, and if the socket is not connected, then what we will do here, we will put here await underscore chat service dot initialize global connections. We'll put here semicolon. After that what we have to do, we have to load the chat room and all. We have to put here await underscore chat service dot load chat room. Here again we will put here set state, and we will make this loading is equal to false. We will refresh the application, but before that we have to just call this function from our void int state, and we have to override this one. Here we have the super dot end state, and here we will write underscore int chat service. We'll save here. So here you will see we are getting no user found. So here we have to put the debugger here in our auth service. There we have this function fetch users. We will reload the application again. So here we will do the debugging, and the status code we are getting 401 or authentication failed, it's saying. So here the issue is like we are not passing this token inside our headers. So what we have to do, we have to put here authorizations, then here we have to pass a token. We have to put here bearer, and this token we have to pass here, and we will reload. And so here we are getting all the users here. So now let's move further, and we will show our chat messages also here, that chat room and all. So now we have to create here the code for the chat room here. It will show all the which we are going to do with our users, and here we have to write constant text visit, and we will show the label here chat room, and we will give the style here text style, font size 20. After this padding close we have to put the comma here. We will save here. You can see here the label is coming here. So here we will create one variable here. We'll put here final chat rooms is equal to underscore chat service dot chat rooms. This one we will copy here, and we'll put here, and we will check here. If there is no chat room message, then we will just show the list is empty. We put here chat rooms dot is empty, and not of underscore is loading. We'll put here expanded visit. Here we have the child here, and we will use here center visit. Inside that we will use the column visit here, and the main access element we are using here main access element dot center. Then we have the children's here. We will put the icon here constant icon, and we are using here icons dot chat bubble underscore, and we can define the size here 48. Color we can put here colors dot gray color. After that we will put some spacing here. We will put here constant size box 16. Then we have to show here text. We'll put here no conversations yet. Here also we will put the style, and we are using here font size 18, and the color we will use here. And here we have to change here to style text style. Then we will put here font size 18. Then we have the color here colors dot gray color 600. After that we will put here size box 8. Then we have the text here, and we will put here start a new conversation with someone. And here also we have the style, and we are using a text style. font size 14, colors dot gray color. So when there will be any conversation, then we have to show the chat room list here, and for that we will put here if chat rooms dot is not empty, then we have the expanded, and before that we have to remove this one. We have the expanded visit, then we have the child here, and we are using a refresh indicator, and here we have to put the child, and we are using a list view dot builder. Here we have the item count, chat rooms dot length, then we have the item builder, we have here context index, then from here we will return. So here we have to create one new visit that will be named as a build chat room items, that we will create here, and that we have to return from here. We put here build chat room item, and we have to pass this chat room here with this index. And the refresh, what we will do, we will just put here underscore chat service dot load chat rooms. So now we have to create this visit. We have to write here underscore build chat room item, and we have to pass the parameter here chat room. Here we have to create some variables. First one will be our final local count is equal to underscore new message count. We have to create this variable in the top. Here we have map string int underscore new message count is equal to curly brackets, and this will be for tracking the new message count locally for the instant update and all. Whenever we get any new message, then we have to update this array, then it will be stored and it will show the count in our list. And for filling this data, we will do later on. Here we have new message count, then we have the chat room. This one we have to put the lowercase dot user ID. So basically it will store the count on the basis of the user ID and all. If there will be no count, then it will be show as a 0. And then here we have one more variable that will be final unread count is equal to local count is more than chat room dot unread count. Then we have to show here local count, else we have to show here chat room dot unread count. So basically here we have to either show the unread count from the server or the local notification count, whichever is higher, and we have to ensure that UI is always up to date. Then from here we have to return container visit. Here we have the decoration and we have the box decoration. Then here we have the border, and here we have the border. In the bottom we are using a border side. Color we are using a colors dot gray color. Then we have the width, we are using a 1. Then here we have the child, and we are using a, we have the list style here, and we are using a, in the leading we are showing the icon here. You can also show the user profile image and all, but here we are just showing the static image. We are having here leading circle star, then we have the background image, and we have to put here network image, and we will check here if chat room dot avatar URL, then we have to show that, else we have to show the dummy image here like this image. After that we have the title here for the showing the username. We are having a text chat room dot username. Then we have the subtitle, and we are using a text widget. So here we have to show the chat room dot latest message, and we have to format this message. Then we have to use our message formatter, which is in our inbuilt utility in our chat plugin and all. We have the message formatter dot format message preview. Then we have the max line, we are using a 1. Then we have the overflow, we have the text overflow dot. After that we have to show the time and the unread count. We are using a trailing, and we are using a column visit. Main axis alignment, we are using a main axis alignment dot center widget. Then we have the cross axis alignment, and we are using a cross axis alignment dot end. After that we have the children's here. There we have to show the text widget, and there we have to format and display the timestamp and all. And we are using a message formatter here for format timestamp, and we'll pick it from our chat room dot latest message time dot to local. So what it will do, whatever the time of that chat message we are getting in from the API is from the server time, but in the chat list and all we have to show the user local time. So according to that, we have to format here and we have to put here to local. Then we have the style here and we are using here text style, and a font size we are using here 12, and a color we are using a colors dot gray color 600. After that, we will check here if there is unread count more than 0, then we will show the count badges as a unread message count and all. We'll check here if unread count is more than 0. Then here we have the container padding we are using here agenset.all 6. Then we have the decoration and we are using a box decoration. Color we are using a colors dot green color. Then we have the shape here and we are using a box shape dot circle. After that, we have the child here and we are using a text widget, and we will show here chat room dot unread count. Here we have the style and we are using a text style. Color we are using a colors dot white color. Font size we are using here. So here, instead of using this chat room dot unread, we can use this variable because we are already doing the logic here. If the local count is more than our chat room dot unread count, then we will show here local count, else we will show here chat room dot unread count, so that we have to make user chat list and all updated. After that, we have the on tap event. Here we will do later on when we do our navigate to chat screen and all. So here we have to make some of the events. First one is our chat room change event. We are putting here chat service dot add event listener. We have this chat events type dot chat room change. We put the name here direct underscore message. This is the ID of that event, direct message underscore, and here we will check if mounted. So here we will check if the widget is still mounted, then we will do the, here we will write set state and we will make this is loading false. So the next event is we have to copy this one and we will paste here. We will change the event here, that is custom event. Here we have the direct message underscore page underscore notification. Here we have this data, and here we will check if data event name is equal to new message notification. Then here we have to show the message notification, and we have to make one function here that will be named as a handle new message notification, and we'll pass the data here underscore data, and inside this function we are going to update our message count read and all. So here we have to create the function here and we'll put it underscore handle new message notification, and we have the map string dynamic message data, and here we will check if not of mounted. Then from here we will just return here. Here we have the final sender ID is equal to message data, this sender name, and here we will just get the sender ID from the notification, and we will check if sender ID is not equal to null. Then from here we will set state underscore new message count. We pass this sender ID is equal to underscore new message count, and we pass this sender ID and we will do +1. So what we are doing here, we are just checking here if the sender is not equal to null, then we will increment the new message count here. Also we can show the new message alert here also if required. That also from here we can do. So we have to create one last function here that will be used for navigate to our chat screen. Here we have void underscore navigate to chat. Here we have the string user ID, string username, and before navigating user to the chat screen we have to remove the message count of that particular user. We will put here set state underscore new messages count dot remove, and here we have to pass the key that is user ID, because if you see here we are just setting the sender ID here, and that sender ID is the whatever the user ID we are passing here, because we are calling this function navigate to chat on when we click on any user, particular user, and that is the sender ID and all. Here we have the navigator dot push context. Then we have the route here. We are using a material page route. Then we are having here builder context, And here we have to write the chat screen page that we need to create. And here we have to pass two things. First one is the receiver ID, that will be this user ID. Then we have the receiver name, that will be this username. And then here we have to refresh the chat room when we returning from the chat screen, and we put here then underscore chat service dot load chat rooms. We have to comment this code because we have to first create our chat screen page and all. So now let's move further and we will create our chat screen. So first of all, we will log into two devices. First one, this one, Android snippet coder. Here we will put the password. After that, we will log in here also. You can see here we have two devices now. So we have the old data also here, so you can ignore that one. So now what we will do, we will create our chat screen. When we click here, then we will land to that chat screen. First we have to go to the pages, and from here we will chat underscore screen dot file. We will make it as a stateful widget. We'll put here stateful. We'll name it as a chat screen page. We will copy this name and we will go here in the chat room and we will uncomment this code. From here we will link this one. Before that we have to also put these two variables also there. We have to put here these two variables, receiver ID and the receiver name, and we will also put here inside our constructor also here. Now we'll go here again. We will import the file here. Now we will save. Now reload the applications. I click here, and before that we have to call this page also, and we have to go here in the top, and we have to go here in the build chat room item, and here in the on tap event, and here we have to write here navigate to chat, and we have to pass two variables. First one the chatroom.userid and the second one is the chatroom.username. We'll save it here. Now here we will click here. You will see here we are going to chat screen page here. If I click here, here also we are going, but page are coming as a blank here. So now we have to start writing the code here. First we will make it as a scaffold widget. Here we have to put the app bar. We will put here app bar. We have the title here, and for the title we are going to use here column widget, and for the title we have to use a column widget. Then we have to put a cross axis alignment, and we are using a cross axis alignment dot start. Then we have the children's here, and we have to put here first one text widget, and we have to get it from our widget dot receiver name. Whatever the receiver name we are passing from here, we will save here. You will see here we have this back button, and then we have the receiver name coming here. So here you can see the receiver is Rajat, and here we have the snippet coder. When we click here, you will see the snippet coder name coming here. Like if you want to chat with any of these contacts, so what we have to do, we have to modify here also in the chat room. So here in the build, we are having this list here, and in the on tap event we have to put here this navigate to chat, and we have to pass these two variables. So what it will do, it will land user to that page with that particular user. Suppose if I click here test user, you will see here we are coming here test user here, same here also. So now let's move further. So we will use here widget binding observer, and that we will use to observe the app lifecycle changes and all. We have to put here with widget binding observer. After that we have to create two variables. First one is for our text editing controller, and the second one is the scroll controller that will be used for our text box and all. After that we have to initialize our chat service. We have to import here. So we have to create one variable here, and that variable will be used for the unique ID prefix for our event listener and all. We have to put here final string listener ID, and that name will be chat screen page. Then we have to create four variables, and the first one is loading, that will be used for loading indicator state and all. After that we have this is typing, that will be used for like user is typing or not. For that state we have to see. Then we have this load more messages state and all. Then we have our has more messages, and here we have to override void int state. We have our super dot int state. Then we have to add this observer here, visit binding dot instance dot add observer. This now we have to create two functions. First one will be our register event listener and all. We have to write a void register event listener. Inside that we have to define our listener. First listener will be for listening the message list changes and all. We have to put here chat service dot add event listener. We have to put the event type, that we will pick it from our event type dot enum dot message change id. We have to pass that unique id which we have created. We have to put a $_ listener id hyphen messages. Then we have to create here callback, and we have to create the function here for the callback. And here we will check if the widget is still mounted. Then we have to hide the loading indicator and all. We have to put here if mounted. We have to set the state here is loading is equal to false. So we have to create one function that will be named as a scroll to bottom, and that will be used to scroll to the bottom when any new message arrived. That we have to put here. And for function we will create here void _ scroll to bottom. We have to check here if _ scroll controller dot has clients _ scroll controller dot animate to. We have to put here the position scroll controller dot position dot max scroll extend. We have to put here duration, and we have to use here durations in millisecond 300. Then we have to put the curve here for the animation. We are using a curves dot ease out. Now here we have to put visit binding dot instance dot add post framework callback. We have to put the callback function here, and we will write here scroll to bottom. After that we have to create one more event listener, and that will be used for typing status change and all. We will put here chat service dot event listener, and we are using here chat event type as a typing status change, and we have to change this listener id with the hyphen typing, and we will check here if it is still mounted. Then we will update the UI, like we have to update the user's typing and all. After that we have to create one more listener that will be used for online status of the user. We have to put here chat event type as a online status change, and we have to put here listener id as a hyphen online, and after that we have to update the UI. So we have to put another message listener, and that will be used like if there will be any change in the message status, and on the basis of that if we want to update our UI, or if we want to show any local notification or any pop-up to the user, for that purpose also we can use here. We have to put here message status change. After that we have to create one more last listener that will be used for the error handling and all, and that will be listen for all the chat errors and all. Here we have the chat event type as a error, and listener id hyphen error, that will be our ID of that listener. Then we are checking here if it is mounted, then we are showing here error message to the user. So now this register event listener, we have to call it from our this function int state and all. After that we have to create one more function that will be for initialize our chat and all. We have to write here future void _ initialize chat, and we have to make this as a async here. After that we have to set the status here as a loading true. Set status _ is loading true. After that we have to put a try catch. First here we have to initialize our chat with the selected receipt and all. So what we have to do here, we have to put here await _ chat service dot initialize chat service, and we have to initialize the chat here in our chat service, and then we have to pass this receiver ID, like we are going to chat with some particular user and we have to set that receiver ID in our chat plugin and all. So we have to put here visit dot receiver ID. After that, we have to load all the messages of that particular receiver with the logged in user. We have to put here await underscore chat service dot load messages. So after that, we have to set that user status to the online. We have to put here chat service dot update user status true. This will make status as a online. After that, we have to emit one function from here in the chat service for getting the status of that particular user. So what we have to do here, we have to put here chat service dot emit custom events. We have to put the event name here, and those event name already mentioned in our chat plugin page and all, you can check from there. We have to put here get underscore user underscore status. After that, we have to pass our data here. We have to put here user ID, and we have to pass here visit dot receiver ID. So this function will update the user receiver status in the variable which is in the chat service, that is receiver online. After this, we have to disable the loading status, and we will put here is loading false. After that, we have to do the same visit binding dot instant dot add post framework callback, and we have to call here the function which we have created, that is underscore scroll to bottom. Again here we have to call this scroll to bottom, like after loading all the messages and status of that particular receiver, we have to go to the bottom of that chat screen and all. And here in the catch also, we have to make this is loading as a false here, and we have to call this function from here. So now we have to create one function that will be used for trigger the typing indicator for that user, and we have to put here void underscore on text change is currently typing is equal to underscore controller dot text is not empty, and we'll check here if underscore is typing is not equal to is currently typing. So here we will only send a typing indicator when the user typing in state change, else we will not send any status. And we have to put here is typing is equal to is currently typing, and from here we will pass chat service dot send typing indicator, and we have to pass this variable here. And this function we will call here on the change event change listener for the typing indicator. We'll put here controller dot add listener on text change. So now here we will handle the application lifecycle and all. We have to override void did change. We have to put here did change app lifecycle state and all, and this we will use for updating the user status, like is the user logged in, is the user online or not, if the app goes in the background or is in the post state. On the basis of that, we have to update the status of the user. First we have to check here state is in the resume state, then we have to put user back to the online state. App is in the post state, that means app is in the background. We have to make the user as a offline and away status. So now we will complete our UI from here. We have the body here, and we are using a column visit, and we have the children's here, and here we will check if underscore chat service dot is receiver typing. Then we have to show the text here, like receiver name is typing, that we have to show here. We have the container here, and padding we are using here edge inset dot symmetric horizontal we are using here 16, vertical we are using here 8. After that we are using here alignment, and we will put here alignment dot center left, and this bracket we have to remove from here. we have the child here, and we'll use a text widget, and we have the text widget here, and we'll put here $visit dot receiver name is typing, and we have the style here, and we are using a text style. Color, we are using a colors dot gray color 600. Then we have the font style, and we are using a font style, and we are using a font style dot italic. We'll save here, and let's check here, is it working or not. We will go inside the chat, but before that we have to also put the text box also here, and we have to put the text box first before adding anything else. We have to put edge inside dot all 8. We have the child here, and we are using a row visit because we have to show the 2 items in the one row, that is the text box and the send button. We have the text button here. You can see here text button is coming here, and if we type something here, you can see here Rajat is typing here. If we stop typing here, you will not see any message here. Same way, if we do here, you will see here snippet code is typing here. That means our typing indicator is also working fine. So now let's move further, and we will add the more code here, and here we have to put the icon for our send button, and also we have to create this function send message. Here we will write void underscore send message async. We have the final text is equal to underscore controller dot text dot trim, and here we will check if text is empty, then we will return from here, and we will clear the input also, controller dot clear. After that we have to put a try catch, and here we will show the error in case of any error message come. We have to put here await underscore chat service dot send message, and we have to pass this text here. So before sending any message, we have to also show the previous message or the message display and all. And before that, we have to also create the status of that user is logged in or not. What we have to do here, we have to create one visit here, visit underscore build user status, and we have to check here if underscore chat service dot is receiver online. Then we have to return here text visit online. Style we will use here text style. Font we are using it 12, and the color we are using it colors dot green color. In the else condition, we will check here if underscore chat service dot last seen is not equal to null. Then we will return here text visit last seen. We have to use here message formatter dot time ago function that we already created in our chat plugin, and we have to just pass here chat service dot last seen. Under style we have to use here text style. We have to use the same style here. We have to copy this one and we can paste here. And in the else condition, we will just show here return size box dot shrink. That means it will not take any space. It will just show the empty size box. So now we have to call this from our app bar, and here we can show here. We'll save here. You can see here it is showing online. If we go from here, and we are still in the application, that's why it's showing online. So if I go again here, you will see we are getting here online. So that means our status is also working fine. So now let's move further and we will add the message also. So after the receiving typing, we have to put one more checking here. So here we have to put the loading indicator when we have to fetch our older message and all. We have to check here if is loading more. Then we have to put here container with the loader and all. After that, we have to show our message list, and this text box and all we have to keep in the bottom here. And here we have to show the message list, and what we have to do, we have to use the expanded visit. We have to put the child here. We have to check here if is loading. Then we have to show the loader here with the center visit, child, circular progress indicator. And here we have to create one variable here, final messages is equal to underscore chat service dot messages, and we will check here if messages dot is empty. Then we have to show here center visit. We have to show the child here and put the message here, no messages yet start. We have to show here this message, no messages yet, send a message to start a conversation. And we have to remove here. After this one, we will check here. We have to use the notification listener here, and we are going to use here scroll notification. And here we have to detect the scroll position for loading more message and all. We have to put it on notification. We have the scroll notification, scroll info, and here we have to load more messages when we reaching the top. And we will put here scroll info dot metrics dot pixel is equal to scroll info dot metrics dot min scroll extent. We have to put here load, and from here we have to load the messages, and for that we have to create the function, and we have to go bottom, and we have to create the function here, future type void underscore load more messages. And we have to check here if underscore, and here we will check already loading or no messages, or we reach at the end, then we will not do any load and all. So what we will do here, we will check here chat service dot messages dot is empty, or underscore is loading more, or not of has more messages, underscore has more messages. Then from here we will return, and from here we will show the loading indicator. We will put here set state underscore is loading more is equal to true. And here we have to calculate the next page, assuming we are loading 20 messages per page. We have to create two variables here. We have the two variables here. First one is the current message count. We have to get the total messages count from our chat service. Then in the next page variable, we have to divide it with 20, and we have to plus here 1. After that, we have to put the try catch. We'll put here final new messages is equal to await underscore chat service dot load messages, and we have to pass here page. That will be our next page variable, and we have to make this function as async here. And from here we will just set our state to is loading more is equal to false. So this function we have to call from there, and here we have to return true, and here we have to put a child here. So now here we have to create our list view builder and all. We have list view dot builder, and we have to set here controller underscore scroll controller. Then we have the padding here, and we are using a edge instead dot symmetric horizontal 10 vertical 20. Then we have the item count here, and we have to put here messages dot length. Then we have the item builder here, and we have to put here context index, and we have to create two variables here. First one will be our message object is equal to messages, and we have to put the index here, and the next variable will be final is me, and that will be for checking if that message is sent by us or it will be received by us. And for that we have to use this variable is mine. Is mine is for identified like this message I sent to the receiver or the message which I received from the receiver. After that we have to create the message bubble with the alignment based on the sender. We have to use here alignment we are using here is me. Then we have to use here alignment dot center right, else we have to use here alignment dot center left. Now here we have to use the child here, and we are using a container, and we are putting a padding as a edge insert all 10. Then we have the margin here, and we are putting here edge insert dot symmetric, and vertical we are using here 4, horizontal we are using here 8. Then we have to create the, so you will see here in the UI, no message yet, send a message to start the conversation and all. And here we have to use a decoration, and we are using a box decoration. We have to use a color on the basis of is me. Then we have to show the color as a color start pink color 50, else we are using a color as gray color 200. After that we are using a border radius, and we are using a border radius circular 10. After that we have the child here, and we are using a column visit here, and we have to show here text message dot message, and here we have to put the children's here. After that we have to put here size box dot height. We have to put here size box height 2, and then we have to show the timestamp and all. We have to use here row visit. Main axis size we are using a main axis size dot min. Then we have the children's here, and we have to use the text visit here, and we are using a message formatter dot format timestamp, and we have to use here message dot created dot to local. We have to show the time according to the local time zone of that user, because the time coming from the server is the server time and all. You have to make sure it will be according to that local time and all. After that we have to put here size box, and we have to put here visit width 4. Then we have to create one more function that will be used for showing the message status, that will be deliver, not deliver, single tick or the double tick and all. Now here we have to build a message status indicator that will be send, deliver or read. We have to put here visit underscore build message status, and we have to pass the parameter as a string status, whatever the status we are passing from that function. On the basis of that we have to show here the icons and all. We have to use the switch case here. We have to put here status, and then we have to create the cases. First one will be a send status, and we have to use here return constant icon start check icon. Size we are using here 14. Color we are using a color start gray color. After that we have to use the case as a deliver. We have to show here the double tick and all, and we have to return here row visit children's. We have to put here icon start check icon size 14. We have to put here comma, and the color we are using a color start gray color. So here we have to use the transform dot translate for giving some spacing and all to the second icon, transform dot translate, and we have to put the offset, and we are using here offset, and we have to pass here -4 and 0 here. After that we have the child here, and we have to use the same icon here. We have to copy this one, and we have to paste here. After that we have to make one more status. We have to copy this one, and we have to paste here, and we will change it to a read status. Here we have to use a double blue check mark for read and all. We have to use a main axis size, and we are using a main axis size dot min. Then we have the children's here, and we have to put this icon as a blue, and the second icon also we will put as a blue here. After that we have to put here default one. We have to return here size box dot shrink. So what we are doing here, we are checking if the state is send status. We have to put single tick as a gray. If it is deliver but not yet read, then we have to put the double tick as a gray. And then we have the case for the read, that means the message has been read by the receiver. Then we have to make it as a blue here for the double ticks and all. In the default we will not show anything. So now we have to call this function, and from here we will check if is me. We have to build message status, and we have to put here messages message dot status, because this status will only be shown to the status for the message only show for the particular message which I have sent to the user, but not for the user sent to me. For that we have to read the status and all. After that we have this message text box and all, and this send message we already have. Now let's reload the application, see is it working or not. So now I am here. So now if I put here test, if I click the send, you will see here the message came here. I'm already logged in here. That user snippet code is already logged in. That's why it is showing blue tick. So now let's go back here. So now here I will put here I will put here hello, and if I put if I click the send button here, so you will see here we are getting here hello with the gray color because the message delivered to the user but not yet read. So now if I go to that chat, so now it is not loading the previous message. So now let's see where the issue is. So let's put debugger here. It is not showing any message here. So now let's go to our chat initializer and let's see the message loading API and all, and let's see where the issue is. We have this setup chat API handler, and here we have this URL and all, and seem like the issue is here, like we are putting a current user ID as a variable name, but it should be sender ID. So now let's save it, and now let's reload the application, see is it working or not. So now if I click here, you will see we can see all the previous messages. Even you can see this load is loading for the load more messages and all, but this load is not getting stopped. So now let's see, let's put the debugger here. And after this we forgot one thing. If no new messages were loaded, we have to reach the end and we have to change the status here. We have to put here if new messages dot is empty, then we have to put here has more messages equal to false. Now let's save it and let's see. So now if I click here, this load is still loading. What wrong we are doing here is like we are calling this is loading more from here. Instead of doing that, we have to finally block, and from there we have to call this one. We will save it and we will reload the application. So now we will click again here. You will see here all the latest messages are coming here, and same if I do from here, you will see all the messages coming here. If I type any new message here, new message, if I click send here, you will see message coming here. Now let's go back and we'll click again here. You will see this new message coming here. So that means our chat is also working perfectly fine.